Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel's Thanos' little brother and I have super god villain system. Chapter 41. Soo-K could see that what he said before was a big blow to Tony, but he didn't regret it, because Tony would know these things sooner or later. Gently pushing the red wine aside, and then sitting down on the sofa, Soo-K slowly said, "Tell me, what do you want to talk to me about?" Tony said nothing, just stood up staggeringly, and then shouted, "Jarvis, play." Then, a surveillance video began to play on the screen not far away. In the video, an old car was driving normally on the road, and suddenly, for no reason, the tire exploded, and then the car suddenly lost control and crashed into a telephone pole on the side, and then an explosion occurred. The two people in the car were burned to death without even a chance to react. At this point, the video stopped abruptly. In theory, there seems to be nothing wrong with this video, it is just a car accident video, but Soo-K still saw something unusual, that is, the two people in the car seemed to have died long before the car accident. This was just a fake car accident. Thinking of this, he immediately said, "This video is wrong, the two people in the car died long before the car accident, this is a fake video." "You were right," Tony smiled bitterly and said, "Jarvis, play the next video." "Sir, I don't recommend you to do anything. You have watched the video more than 20 times today. I detected that your emotional signs fluctuate greatly every time you watch this video, so I." "Shut up, Jarvis. I'll say it again, play it." Before Jarvis finished speaking, Tony suddenly threw a bottle of brandy in his hand to the ground and roared. Jarvis stopped talking, and according to Tony's instructions, the next video was played. At the beginning, there was also an old-fashioned car, but unlike the previous video, the two people in the car were obviously still alive and seemed to be discussing something. Then, for some reason, the tire suddenly exploded, the car lost control in an instant, and then crashed into the electric pole on the side. The car began to smoke, and the man in the car climbed out with difficulty regardless of the blood on his forehead, and then tried to save his wife, but before he could rescue his wife, a motorcycle suddenly appeared on the side of the road, and at the same time, a familiar figure appeared in front of Soo-K. Winter Soldier. That is Bucky. At this time, Bucky was holding a gun in his hand, and everyone could see that the tire explosion just now must be his masterpiece. Walking up to the man, Bucky knocked the man to the ground, and then pointed the gun at the man's head, but the man was surprised at this time. "Lieutenant Buggy, why is it you? I need your help, my wife." Bang! Facing the man who asked for help, Bucky pulled the trigger without any expression on his face. The man didn't have a chance to say another word, nor did he have a chance to save his wife. Next, Bucky pointed the gun at the woman in the passenger seat. Bang! Jarvis, shut down. Turn it off quickly. The video hadn't finished playing yet, but Tony on the side couldn't bear it any longer, and with his shout, Jarvis instantly turned off the video. Needless to say, the man and woman in the video are Tony's parents. And this is the scene of Tony's parents being murdered. Sitting on the ground weakly against the wall, Tony picked up the brandy beside him and took a big sip. With tears in his eyes, Tony looked at Sook with great hatred and said, "These two videos, one is the video stored by S.H.I.E.L.D. when my parents died, and the other is the video after I deciphered it. You were right, my parents didn't die in a car accident, they were murdered." Sook said nothing. At this time, it seemed that it was useless for him to say anything. Tony's hatred for Bucky was no longer something that anyone could persuade. After taking another sip of wine, Tony said with a miserable smile, "You probably don't know that when I was very young, my father told me that Captain America and Bucky were heroes. I even admired them since I was a child, but what? Bucky killed my parents." Tony almost yelled the last sentence. At this moment, veins on his face bulged, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. Looking at Sook again, Tony grinned. "Sook, I'm going to kill Bucky. Sook, I'm going to kill Bucky." Seeing Tony gritting his teeth and saying this with an angry face, Sook was not surprised at all, because in his opinion, this was Tony's most normal reaction. Watching the video of Bucky killing his parents again and again, Tony's hatred has reached its peak. When he thinks of how his father always regarded Bucky as a hero and a role model for him when he was a child, the hatred in his heart becomes stronger and stronger. The hero he admires is actually the real murderer of his parents. How ironic is this? He even regretted why he didn't kill Bucky during the day. Although Sook understood Tony very well in his heart, he still said, I think it is necessary to tell you one thing. Bucky became like this after being transformed by Hydra. He no longer has his own consciousness and previous memories. The assassination of your parents should be instigated by Hydra. Killing Bucky cannot really avenge your parents. So what? Can you erase the fact that Bucky killed my parents by saying this? Tony's eyes became colder and colder. Bucky must die, and so must Hydra. At this point, Sook knew that he could no longer persuade Tony, and then he asked again, in this case, I won't say anything, but I want to know why you called me here. You don't want me to help you kill Bucky, do you? Of course not. Bucky is mine, and only I can kill him. I need your help not for this, but for another thing. Speaking of this, Tony stood up again, and handed a note to Suke. When he opened it, it turned out to be the equation that Suke had written before. You want me to help you make weapons? Suke shook the note and said. It's not a weapon, it's this. As he spoke, Tony suddenly tore open his short-sleeved shirt, revealing the arc reactor inside. I need a stronger energy source. But with my ability and wisdom as well as the technology of the Earth, it will take at least half a year to complete this experiment, but I can't wait any longer, I need to get new energy as soon as possible. Tony wants to kill Bucky, but S.H.I.E.L.D. will definitely stop him, and S.H.I.E.L.D. has never believed in him. In addition, S.H.I.E.L.D. also has various high-tech weapons made with the Space Stone before, so Tony needs stronger equipment. For a moment, Sook also thought of this, but then he had a headache again. Seeing that the Battle of New York was only a few days away, Tony had to go to S.H.I.E.L.D. to kill people. S.H.I.E.L.D. would definitely not hand over Bucky directly, and a battle was inevitable. Can't you guys be quiet? Wait, if I think about it carefully, it seems that this incident happened because of me. Thinking of this, Suke was speechless again. But he finally decided to help Tony. Anyway, the world was already in chaos, and he wanted to see how chaotic it could get. I promise you, you go and rest tonight, and I will start to help you tomorrow. After Suke said this, he was ready to leave, etc. Seeing Suke was about to leave, Tony hurriedly spoke out to stop him. What else? Suke was a little curious. No need to wait until tomorrow, let's start tonight. I can't wait. Tony said excitedly, and with his unstable body, Sook was speechless again. You drank too much and can't get started tonight. This is a very delicate matter and can't be sloppy. Suke said. No, I'm not drunk, I must be sober at all times, tonight. Jarvis, get ready. As Tony's voice sounded, in a laboratory not far away, a set of machines began to operate. This guy. Sook shook his head slightly and followed. To build a new arc reactor, new elements are needed, and the synthesis of such elements is extremely difficult. The materials on Earth cannot withstand it. Only an alien like Sook can withstand it. When Sook learned that Tony actually wanted to use him as a ring battery, he almost crushed him to death. It is very difficult to synthesize new elements, because the molecules between many elements cannot be fused at all, and the technology on Earth cannot allow them to merge. If Tony is given about half a year, he may be able to think of a way, but he is eager for revenge and can't wait for half a year. He can only look for Suke who has alien knowledge. That night, the two did not rest and kept busy, and Tony was mostly just helping, because the energy of those elements was very strong and the human body could not bear it, so he had to let Suke do it himself. In the end, relying on the knowledge of the Eternal Clan, Suke finally succeeded in synthesizing a new element. At this time, the sky was already bright, and Tony had already fallen asleep on the sofa. Tony used palladium before. Although palladium can provide energy for the arc reactor and armor, the radioactive energy contained in palladium will also cause damage to Tony's body, but the latest synthesized element does not emit radioactive energy, and the energy contained is several times more than the previous palladium. Also, when helping Tony synthesize new elements, Sook discovered that the energy source of Tony's arc reactor was the isotope of the space gem. With the mentality of helping to the end, he injected some of the energy of the space gem into the new element, but of course, this was just a drop in the bucket for the space gem. The new element was a very powerful and unknown energy for Tony, but it was quite useless for Sook who already had the power of the phoenix. However, in the spirit of the more energy the better, Sook still absorbed a lot of new elements. After squeezing the new element onto the device that Tony had already placed, and stretching comfortably, Sook shouted, "Jarvis, test the new element yourself, before Tony's body can't withstand such energy." "Understood, sir," Jarvis replied politely, then placed the new element in an arc reactor and began testing. Tony's affairs had been dealt with, and Suke had no need to stay here any longer. Before leaving, Suke did not wake Tony up, because he knew in his heart that Tony really needed a good rest. He opened the space channel, took a step, and instantly appeared in his bedroom. Then, he found a note on his desk. He took it and saw that it was written by Chin. "Sorry, Suke, there is an important matter that I need to help you with. I can only talk about what I promised you later. Love, your Chin." "What's going on?" Suke was curious and immediately came to Professor X's office. "Professor, where did Chin go?" The first time Suke saw Professor X, he hurriedly asked. "Don't worry," Professor X smiled and said, "we just happened to encounter an urgent mission this morning that required a telepath, so I asked Jean to go, along with Logan and Hank. Don't worry, she'll be fine. But where did you go last night? Jean couldn't find you when she went to say goodbye to you." Okay, Suke was speechless, and even suspected that Professor X did this on purpose, but there was nothing he could do at the moment. "When I was sleeping last night, Tony asked me for help, so I went over for a while and just came back," Suke explained. Professor X nodded first, then suddenly came over, smiled and patted Suke on the shoulder and said, "If I'm not mistaken, Suke, you should be ready to leave here, right?" Suke no longer concealed his thoughts after Professor X directly revealed them. "I lived in New York City for a few days before, and I think I am more suited to big cities, so I plan to move to New York City. I originally planned to take Jean with me, but I didn't expect Jean to leave." At the end, Suke felt a little regretful. Jean is the student who has lived in the mutant school for the longest time. Professor X naturally has a special feeling for Jean. Although he is reluctant to let her go, he knows in his heart that it is best for Jean and Suke to be together. He cannot always help her control the power of the phoenix in Jean's body, but Suke can. Okay, don't be too disappointed. When Jean comes back, I will ask her to find you. Remember to come back often when you have time in the future, you are always welcome here." Looking at Suke's face full of regret, Professor X smiled and said. That afternoon, Suke simply packed up his things, said goodbye to the mutant school, and came to New York City. However, when he first arrived in New York City, he was instantly a little depressed. Because at this moment, in the air not far away, Iron Man Tony Stark was attacking the SHIELD's aerospace carrier. "What the hell, can you give me some free time?" Tony and S.H.I.E.L.D. were fighting fiercely in the sky, and there were explosions from time to time, but Suke could see that the two sides did not really fight, otherwise with Tony's current equipment, he would have opened a hole in S.H.I.E.L.'s aerospace aircraft carrier. But at this time, he was too lazy to care about it, because it was Tony's own business and needed Tony to solve it himself, so he just found a place to watch the show. Opening a space channel casually, Suke instantly appeared on the top floor of Stark Building. There is no better place in New York City. What surprised Suke was that there were already quite a few people standing on the platform on the top floor of Stark. These people included Emma, Red Tank, Pepper, Tony's driver and bodyguard Hogan, and 2 bodyguards. When she saw Suke for the first time, Pepper immediately came up and said anxiously, "Mr. Suke, please persuade Tony. He doesn't listen to anything I say to him. I really can't stop him. Please stop him." "Sorry, I can help with other things, but I can't do anything about this matter. I won't stop Tony from avenging his parents." After saying this lightly, Suke walked to Emma, then hugged Emma and sat down on a sofa. "Boss, do you want to eat something?" Red Tank, who was eating pizza crazily, handed the pizza to him. Suke is getting more and more speechless about this guy Red Tank. Ever since he came to Stark Tower, he has been eating all day long. He doesn't look like a villain at all. He has simply degenerated to the extreme. "No, eat it yourself." Suke waved his hand. Hearing this, Hong Tank took his hand back without hesitation, and then put the pizza in his hand into his mouth and ate the whole pizza in one bite. But at this time, Suke was too lazy to pay attention to Hong Tank. "What, Are you done with the things over there? Emma asked softly, leaning gently on Suke. It's done. I won't live in the mutant school anymore. When we have time, we'll buy a big house and live in New York City. Suke said with a smile. Emma blushed at first, then looked around, and then asked curiously, then, where's that girl? Why didn't she come with you? Needless to say, Emma was talking about Chin. The mutant school encountered an urgent mission and needed a telepath, so Jean went to help. Suke said casually. But then, he was suddenly stunned again, then looked at Emma and said, Emma, what do you think of the relationship between Jean and me? Suke admitted that he was indeed a playboy, but he dared to guarantee that he was sincere to every woman of his, but he overlooked one point, that is, these women of his would look at this kind of thing. When Emma heard this, she smiled disapprovingly and said, you are a powerful existence. I know there will be many women around you, but as long as I can be with you, I don't care about anything else. Isn't this too reasonable? Suke was touched. If there weren't so many people here, he really wanted to have it with Emma. Cough cough. After coughing a few times to make himself feel a little more normal, Suke asked again, by the way, tell me what's going on. How did Tony fight with S.H.I.E.L.D.? Although he knew that Tony would go to S.H.I.E.L.D. to find Bucky, Suke never expected that Tony would act so quickly. He felt that he needed to understand the course of events again. Then, with Emma's explanation, Suke finally understood what was going on. Originally, at the beginning, Tony did not directly fight with S.H.I.E.L.D., but found Nick Fury with a videotape of Bucky killing his parents, and asked Nick Fury to hand Bucky over to him for disposal. However, since Bucky is currently the only one who knows the information about Hydra, Nick Fury refused Tony and promised to give Tony an explanation. But it is obvious that Tony cannot accept Nick Fury's refusal. Then, he immediately launched an attack and threatened that if Bucky was not handed over, he would destroy the aerospace carrier. Then, it was what happened in front of them. It has to be said that Tony's attack almost stunned S.H.I.E.L.D. In fact, Nick Fury did not expect that Tony would directly launch an attack after being rejected by him. Although it did not seem to be serious, it had already made him a little flustered. Picking up the intercom on the table, Nick Fury shouted loudly, Tony, are you crazy? Do you know what the consequences will be? We are not your enemy. On the other end, Tony quickly replied, I don't want to do this, but Bucky killed my parents and I have to avenge them. Nick, my father is also one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D., shouldn't you seek justice for him? I won't stop until you hand Bucky over to me. And my patience is very limited. As he spoke, Tony shot down 2 drones of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick's face turned ugly. Bucky was kept because he wanted to obtain intelligence, this was just a statement to the outside world. The real situation was that Nick Fury also wanted to hand Bucky over to Tony, because compared to a Hydra soldier, Tony was more important to S.H.I.E.L.D. But, looking back at the Captain America behind him, Nick Fury had another headache. Roger's obsession with Bucky was too deep. He would not allow himself to hand Bucky over no matter what, and even caused a war between S.H.I.E.L.D. and Tony. Throwing the walkie-talkie on the table, Nick Fury looked at Rogers behind him and said, Captain, are you sure you really want to protect Bucky all the time? Tony's father Howard Stark should also be your friend, right? As far as I know, your S.H.I.E.L.D. was given by Howard Stark. Why do you want to protect the murderer who killed him? Roger's face changed, and he couldn't help but touch his shield, and then slowly said, this is not Bucky's fault. He was just brainwashed by Hydra. Hydra is the real murderer. I understand what you said, but have you ever thought that the current Bucky is no longer the Bucky you knew before? He is now just the Winter Soldier of Hydra, a complete killing machine. Countless people have died at his hands. Can you wash away these facts just by saying it's not his fault, he was just controlled? Nick Fury said angrily. He understood Roger's friendship with Bucky, but he couldn't understand Roger's attitude on this matter. Just like what Wolverine said before. Are you the captain of the United States or the captain of Hydra? Nick Fury really wants to ask this question now. Rogers was silent for a while, and then suddenly turned and left, making Nick Fury so angry that he almost wanted to curse. Report to the director, our 3 drones were destroyed by Iron Man again. His firepower is getting stronger and stronger, please use heavy weapons. Then, another agent began to report the battle situation outside. No, absolutely no heavy weapons are allowed. That guy's armor is equipped with small missiles. It will be troublesome if a fight breaks out. Besides, this is over New York City. If the firepower is too strong, it will hurt ordinary citizens. Nick Fury refused without hesitation. In his opinion, things have not come to that point yet. Report, Iron Man is about to break in. Alert, 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 he's coming in. Everyone, pay attention. The next second, another tense voice rang out. Before Nick Fury could react, he saw Tony in armor rushing directly to the command room. This sudden attack made him fall to the ground. Bang! With a loud bang, the glass of the command room burst instantly, and then Tony appeared in front of everyone. Nick Fury cursed angrily in his heart, then he got up and looked at Tony and said, "Tony, have you had enough fun? Enough is enough. Play. Nick, when will you understand that this is the most serious time in my life? Now I give you two choices, either hand over Bucky, or I destroy the helical carrier," Tony said, and the small missile library on both sides of his shoulders suddenly opened, revealing the 10 missiles inside. You are absolutely crazy. Nick Fury was completely helpless against Tony. But suddenly at this moment, the intercom on his desk rang again. Report, report, Captain Rogers took Bucky away from the aerospace carrier. Repeat, Captain Rogers took Bucky away from the aerospace carrier. Hearing this, Tony and Nick Fury's faces turned ugly. Nick, you owe me an explanation for this matter. After saying this angrily, Tony rushed out of the aerospace carrier without any hesitation and chased Rogers. Nick Fury was a little helpless because he didn't know whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. Although Tony left S.H.I.E.L.D., there will definitely be a big battle between him and Rogers. In any case, it will be extremely difficult for these two guys to work together in the future. On the other side, Sook and others who were observing all this in Stark Tower also found that Tony suddenly flew out of S.H.I.E.L.D. and flew towards a fighter jet. What's going on? Sook was a little surprised and asked Emma beside him. Emma was silent at first, but she used telepathy in an instant. After a moment, she said, "Rogers took Bucky away from S.H.I.E.L.D., Tony should be chasing them." Huh. When Sook heard this, a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. As expected, for Bucky, Rogers can do anything. Wait for me here, I'll be back soon, Sook said lightly, and then flew towards Tony's direction. Tony was chasing the fighter plane in front of him, and suddenly felt that there seemed to be something around him. He turned his head and saw that Sook had already flown to his side. "What are you doing here? I told you not to stop me," Tony said stubbornly. "I'm not here to stop you, I'm just here to make sure Bucky doesn't run away." After saying this, Sook's eyes instantly turned red again, and then a stream of burning energy suddenly shot out from his eyes, and then shot directly at the fighter in front, instantly shooting through the fighter. Soon, the fighter gradually lost control, and then staggered down to the sea, and finally fell on a small island in the sea. When Rogers was trying to drag Bucky out of the fighter, Sook and Tony had already fallen down. "Captain, you disappoint me so much." After saying this, Tony knocked Rogers to the ground with one punch, then dragged Bucky out and threw him aside like a dead dog. The impact of the fighter jet caused Rogers and Bucky to be seriously injured. They were unable to fight at all and could only let Tony manipulate them. At this moment, Sook was watching all this coldly. Just as he said before, he would not stop Tony from doing this. Bucky killed Tony's parents, which was something Tony could never forgive. In addition, Bucky had been working as a spy for Hydra for so many years. Tony failed the mission to kill Bucky, he really deserves to die. Maybe one day in the future, Bucky will turn over a new leaf, join the Avengers and become a hero, but that is only a matter of the future. In short, Bucky must die. Tony walked slowly to Bucky's side, and suddenly a pistol appeared in his hand. At this moment, Tony's body couldn't help but tremble. Pointing the gun at Bucky's head, looking at Bucky who still had an expressionless face, Tony slowly said, "Lieutenant Bucky, don't worry, after killing you, I will go and kill Hydra, you all must die." Live. Stop. Tony, this is not Bucky's will. He is just controlled by Hydra. The real murderer of your parents is not Bucky, but Hydra. Don't kill Bucky, please. On the other side, seeing Tony was about to attack Bucky, Rogers struggled to stand up and shouted. Tony looked at Rogers coldly, suppressing his inner anger and asked, "Captain, you should have watched the video, right? Why did you say such a thing after watching the video? Bucky is your friend, then what about my father? Isn't he your friend? Or in your heart, no friend is as important as Bucky. I feel sad for my father and I feel sad for you. After saying this, Tony looked at Bucky again. Goodbye, Bucky. Bang, bang, bang. Then, 3 gunshots rang out. No, along with the gunshots, there was Roger's desperate voice. As Sook had expected, Tony eventually killed Bucky and avenged his parents. After killing Bucky, Tony instantly knelt on the ground powerlessly and did not stand up for a long time, while Rogers cried while holding Bucky's body. Sook knew that after this incident, the chances of Rogers joining the Avengers were almost negligible. After all, the Avengers were founded by Tony. But then again, if he was really the Captain America with a strong sense of justice in the comics, he would always join the Avengers. After a while, Tony's spirit finally improved a little. He looked at Bucky's body again, and then he flew into the air. Sook directly opened a space channel and returned to the top floor of Stark Building. How is it? Where's Tony? Why didn't he come back with you? The moment Soo-K appeared, Pepper ran over and asked anxiously. Don't worry, Soo-K said slowly. He's fine, he's on his way back now. What about Bucky and Captain Rogers? How are they doing? Pepper suddenly thought of something and asked nervously again. Tony killed Bucky, and as for Rogers, don't worry, Tony didn't do anything to him. After saying this lightly, Sook returned to sit next to Emma, and then looked at the aerospace carrier in the sky. After Tony left, S.H.I.E.L.D. also lifted the alarm, and is now dealing with various accidents caused before. It can be seen that Nick Fury is busy again. It's Tony, he's back. Not long after, Hogan suddenly shouted again. Everyone looked up and saw Tony flying over. At the moment Tony fell, he almost fell to the ground, and Pepper felt distressed again. Don't worry, I'm fine, I'm just a little tired. Taking off the mask on his face, Tony looked at Pepper with a bitter look. Then, he seemed to remember something, and looked at Sook beside him and said, Sook, thank you. Sook waved his hand and said indifferently, You're welcome, it's just a small favor. With a faint smile, Tony said to Hogan, Hogan, Sook has decided to move to New York City. He is my good friend. No matter what he needs or has any requirements, you must satisfy him. Do you understand? Understood, sir, Hogan agreed quickly. Sook first helped Tony complete the equation of the new element, and then personally helped Tony create the new element, and also helped Tony find the real enemy who killed his father. For Tony, he could never repay Sook, and he could only do his best to meet all of Sook's needs. Then, with the help of Pepper, Tony slowly walked towards the bedroom. He really needed a good rest. Since he was going to live in New York City, Sook naturally needed a house. After learning about Sook's various requirements, Hogan found a suitable house for Sook in just 2 days. It was an independent 3-story luxury villa located in Queens, New York, with an area of more than 500 square meters. It had a swimming pool and a gym. The furniture was also purchased by Hogan, and all the furniture was the best. In view of Red Tank's super destructiveness, at the request of Sook and Stark, Hogan also found a suitable place for Red Tank. It was an abandoned military base outside New York City. After a simple transformation, it has become Red Tank's personal paradise. It is not only equipped with various things that Red Tank likes, but also Tony's special venting props for Red Tank, the purpose of which is to prevent Red Tank from going out to destroy the city when he has nothing to do. In addition, Tony even bought Red Tank's favorite pizza shop and moved into the place where Red Tank lives. The result is that Red Tank spends his days eating and sleeping, or smashing the props Tony prepared for him to vent his anger. Sook feels that this guy has completely fallen, and he doesn't look like a villain at all. In the following days, Soo-K had a rare few days of leisure. He stayed in the villa with Emma every day and didn't go anywhere. Until this day, S.H.I.E.L.D. found him. Ding dong. The doorbell rang, and Emma walked over and opened the door, but what appeared in front of her was a group of people she didn't know. Hello. The leading white man smiled and said, My name is Phil Coulson, an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., because Mr. Sook told me before that I should inform him of any intelligence about Hydra, so I came here. Then, Coulson seemed to remember something and said hurriedly, If you don't believe me, you can check my head to confirm that I am not lying. Obviously, Coulson thought of the incident a few days ago when Hydra pretended to be S.H.I.E.L.D. No need. Emma smiled and said, I believe you are telling the truth. After what happened before, if Hydra dared to pretend to be S.H.I.E.L.D. to find Sook, it would be pure death, so Emma did not doubt his identity. Sook, Agent Coulson from S.H.I.E.L.D. is here to see you. He wants to tell you some information about Hydra. Then, Emma's voice suddenly rang in Sook's mind while he was basking in the sun by the swimming pool. Coulson. Sook was slightly stunned, and then he said, let them in. At the door, after getting Sook's confirmation, Emma made a gesture of invitation. Thank you. After thanking him and rearranging his clothes, Coulson walked in with the two agents behind him. Following Emma to the backyard, Coulson saw Sook basking in the sun from a distance, and Sook was looking at Coulson who was walking towards him. As far as Sook knew, Phil Coulson had admired and been obsessed with superheroes since he was a child. When he grew up, he continued to study and track them, and created a database on superhumans. Later, Coulson joined the U.S. Army Rangers, and soon after he joined the super agent organization S.H.I.E.L.D. and became the Supreme Commander of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Special Forces. Even during the period when S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Nick Fury disappeared, this guy was still became the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. After taking a look, Sook closed his eyes again, enjoying the sun bath and absorbing a little energy. Sook's body can absorb any energy, and the most common one is the energy of the sun. This is almost similar to Superman. After absorbing enough solar energy, he can also emit heat rays from his eyes. Although the energy of the sun is not as powerful as the Phoenix Force, it is simple and can store energy at any time. Why not do it? Coming to Sook, Coulson first stood still, and then said nervously, Hello, Mr. Sook, my name is Phil Coulson, an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. This time I am reporting to you about Hydra. Sook was too lazy to even open his eyes, and slowly said, Didn't Tony kill Bucky? Where did this information come from? You were right, Tony did kill Bucky, but we got this information from Bucky's head before he died. According to the information, Hydra seems to have found something called the obelisk, and wants to use it to make weapons. According to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s records a long time ago, it seems to have the power to explain death itself, but we don't know anything about it. Coulson explained. Obelisk. Hearing this word, Sook opened his eyes again. Then the next second, the system's voice rang again. Ding. Now releasing the side quest, get the Hydra's obelisk, quest reward, 200,000 villain points, 1 chance to draw a prize. Sook was speechless again, thinking that this task was released at a very timely moment. Sook knew about the obelisk. This thing is also called Terrigen crystal. It is not a product of the earth. It is the key for humans carrying the inhuman gene to become inhumans. For humans carrying the inhuman gene, the obelisk can gain superpowers and change their destiny, but for humans, this thing is fatal. Once a human touches the obelisk, he will instantly turn into something similar to a black stone. It seems that Hydra intends to use the obelisk to create inhumans. In the Marvel Universe, in addition to mutants like the X-Men, there is another type of people with superpowers, and that type of people is the Inhumans. However, unlike mutants, the Inhumans' abilities are not awakened by themselves, but through the obelisk, which is the Terrigen crystal. Anyway, this is really interesting. Do you know where the obelisk is exactly? Sook sat up and asked while drinking the red wine handed to him by Emma. The exact location is still unknown, but it is certain that it should be in a certain area of New York City, otherwise the Winter Soldier of Hydra would not appear here. We initially estimated that the Winter Soldier came to New York City to protect the obelisk. There is a Hydra base in New York City, and the attack on you should be just an accident. Regarding this matter, I think we must apologize to you. This is our negligence. Coulson said apologetically. All right. Sook waved his hands and said indifferently, It's not your fault, I won't blame you, is there anything else? Just go if you have nothing to do, don't disturb my rest. Finding the obelisk is important, and killing the Hydra is also important, but Sook just wants to rest now. As for other things, let's talk about it tomorrow. Forehead. There is one more thing. In order to prevent you from being harassed by Hydra again, we would like to ask you if we can send a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent to be by your side. Of course, it is not to monitor you, but just to prevent you from being harassed by Hydra again. When saying this, Coulson was already extremely nervous. He was really worried that Suke would think this was a kind of surveillance and then kill them directly. Although he may not necessarily do so, he definitely has the power to do so. However, when Suk heard this, he suddenly became interested and motioned Coulson to continue. Coulson breathed a sigh of relief when he realized that Suk did not seem angry but was very interested. He then pointed to a female agent behind him and said, "Mr. Suk, the lady next to me is Natasha Romanoff. She is a very good agent. As long as she is by your side, I can guarantee that Hydra will never harass you again." Natasha Romanoff, isn't this Black Widow? Suk was a little surprised. Then, a tall, capable woman appeared in Suk's sight. Black Widow's real name is Natasha Romanoff. She was trained as an agent by Soviet agents since she was a child. Her body was genetically modified by the Soviet government in the secret facility, Red Room, which greatly slowed down her aging speed, enhanced her immune system and ability to resist blows. In addition to her own years of physical and mental training, she has become like a deadly poisonous spider, Black Widow. Later, she betrayed the former Soviet spy organization, Red Room, and joined SHIELD to become an agent. She is a beautiful and very dangerous woman. "Hello, Mr. Suk, my name is Natasha, it's my pleasure to serve you, it's my honor." Natasha looked at Suk with a smile on her face, and there was a hint of teasing in her eyes. Suk was a little speechless, thinking, what the hell is this? A beauty trap? Do you really think you can't walk after seeing a woman? Is SHIELD in a low IQ? Although he was a little speechless in his heart, Suk did not show it on the surface. He just said with a playful look on his face, "I will deal with the Hydra matter myself, and I hope Hydra will come to me so that I can kill them. Your actions are a bit unnecessary. But then again, my house is so big, I did think about finding a maid to tidy up the room and clean it. If you are willing, then I can reluctantly let you stay." Coulson felt a little embarrassed when he heard this. After all, Black Widow was the most powerful agent of SHIELD and there was almost no task she could not complete. Asking her to come here as a maid to tidy up the room and clean the place was really asking too much, right? But before he could speak, Black Widow on the side smiled and nodded and said, "As you wish, I am willing to be your maid and obey your orders." How interesting. The dignified Black Widow actually volunteered to be his maid. In the Marvel world, Black Widow has always been a charming and seductive woman, and she is ruthless and not inferior to men, even stronger than men, which makes her the most popular woman in Marvel. And now, such a woman is willing to be his maid. If there is no trick in it, Suke will definitely not believe it. She is just like her code name Black Widow, full of the temptation of death. As for the purpose of Black Widow's visit, Suke has more or less guessed it. Despite this, Suke still decided to keep Black Widow, because if you think about it carefully, it is indeed a bit too tired for Emma to clean up such a big house alone, and it is more appropriate to leave this kind of thing to the maid. Thinking of this, Suke closed his eyes and lay down again, then slowly said, "Stay." As soon as he said this, Suk clearly felt Emma poking him lightly. It was obvious that the little girl was jealous and thought he was going to eat Black Widow. At the same time, after getting Suk's answer, Coulson finally breathed a sigh of relief, and then looked at Black Widow with a little worry. After all, Suk's power was too strong, and he was really worried that Black Widow would be hurt. It was Nick Fury who decided to send Black Widow to Suk. After seeing the relationship between Emma and Suk, Nick Fury thought that Suk should be as lustful as the humans on Earth, so he came up with this beauty trap. Before coming here, Coulson thought this was a bad idea. Even though Suk had agreed to it, he still thought it was a bad idea. But now, there is no point in saying these things. In that case, I'll take my leave now. Coulson bowed slightly, and then said to Suke respectfully. Well, Suke didn't even open his eyes, but just waved his hand gently. Then, Coulson left, and for a moment, only Black Widow was left standing aside with a smile on her face. I don't like this woman. Ignoring the Black Widow, Emma lay down beside Suke and said to him telepathically. It doesn't matter whether she likes it or not, just let her do any work in the future, she is here to be a maid anyway. Suke replied in his heart. Are you willing to do that? Emma asked jealously. What's the point of being reluctant? I have no interest in this woman. She is just someone sent by SHIELD to monitor me. Don't you know who I am interested in? Speaking, Suke held Emma's hand. Emma felt sweet again when she heard this. There is no doubt that Black Widow is a slim and charming beauty, even more beautiful than Emma, but Suke is really not interested in women like Black Widow who come to him with impure purposes. For such a woman, he can only use her as a tool to relieve his cravings at most. But then, Emma suddenly said, "By the way, I invaded her mind just now, but I didn't find anything. I just found some insignificant trivialities, as if she deliberately hid some things in her mind and didn't let me find them." Suke was not too surprised by what Emma said. After all, S.H.I.E.L.D. already knew that Emma was a telepath, and before coming, Black Widow must have taken corresponding precautions. With Black Widow as a maid, Suke suddenly felt that his future life would definitely be very interesting. After standing by for a long time, Suke still closed his eyes and ignored her. Although he looked like he was asleep, Black Widow was sure that Suke was not asleep. After a while, Black Widow couldn't help asking, "Mr. Suke, don't call me by my name. Since you are here to be a maid, you should change your name. I have seen a movie on Earth before, and the maids in it all call their masters. From now on, just call them masters directly." Before Black Widow could finish her words, Suke suddenly interrupted her. Black Widow was a little speechless, thinking, what kind of movie did you watch? What era is this? Are there still people calling masters? I am not your slave. The next second, Black Widow suddenly thought of something, and then glanced at Emma beside her. Then, she adjusted her mind in an instant, and then smiled and said, "No problem, Master, I will call you whatever you want me to call you. I just want to ask, what should I do next?" "What to do? Clean the house first, and then cook for us. Emma, what do you want to eat for lunch?" Speaking, Suke suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Emma on the side. Emma held back the smile in her heart, pretended to think for a while and replied, "I heard that Japanese food is good, I want to eat Japanese food for lunch today." "Very good, then let's have Japanese food, you prepare it this afternoon," Suke said to the Black Widow beside him. "This really makes me think of myself as a maid." Although she was not willing to do such a thing, in order to continue to stay with Suke, Black Widow finally smiled and nodded, then retreated. At the same time, on the other side, after learning that Sook had agreed to let Black Widow stay by his side, Nick finally breathed a sigh of relief. For Nick Fury, Sook's existence was too frightening, and he needed Sook to be in his sight all the time, because only in this way could he be completely at ease. And the only one who could do this seemed to be Black Widow. Because she had received corresponding training since she was a child, Black Widow's willpower could be said to be the strongest, and as a professional agent, she would even hide some memories and information in her mind, so as to avoid Emma from noticing her true purpose. Of course, the most important thing is that Black Widow is an absolutely beauty. Nick Fury hopes that after Sook gets Black Widow can become his woman like Emma, so that if there is anything in the future, they can persuade Sook through Black Widow. But obviously, this is just Nick Fury's wishful thinking. The series of events that happened recently were all because of the alien Sook. If possible, Nick Fury really wanted to drive Sook out of the Earth, but obviously, this is impossible, because there is no opponent in this world who can defeat Sook. Since it is impossible to defeat or drive Sook away, Nick Fury can only start from other places. For example, Black Widow. On the other side, after lunch, Sook simply tidied up and prepared to take Emma out. "Master, where are you going?" Seeing Suke was about to leave, the Black Widow hurriedly asked. "It's nothing, I just want to go out for a walk. Natasha, do your job well and don't ask about things you shouldn't know," Sook said with a smile. Next, just as the Black Widow was about to say something else, Sook had already opened another space channel, and then instantly disappeared without a trace with Emma. The Black Widow was speechless. She began to feel that there seemed to be no need for her to come here at all, because Sook seemed to have no interest in her at all. "Forget it, since I'm here, I might as well make the best of it. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future anyway." Shaking her head slightly, the Black Widow went into the house. At the same time, a space channel suddenly appeared in a remote alley in New York City, and then Sook walked out with Emma. Looking around, Emma asked curiously, "What are we doing here?" "Remember the Hydra base that Coulson mentioned before?" Sook said as he looked around. I'm sure it's in this area, but I'm not sure exactly where it is. Let's go look for it. Coulson did not tell Suk the specific area where the Hydra branch base was located. Of course, it was not that they did not want to tell Suk, but they did not know where the Hydra base was at all. However, this was not a difficult task for Suk, because the system clearly marked the location when issuing the task. Although it was not very accurate, Suk already knew the specific location. This is a small town located on the border of New York City. The place is not too big, but it is extremely prosperous, with people coming and going everywhere, and it is very lively. The next thing to do is to find the Hydra base in this town. As an evil organization that has existed for thousands of years, Hydra knows the importance of hiding better than anyone else, and it is not an easy task to find them. It is not an easy thing, so Suk brought Emma with him. As long as Emma can help him determine the specific location, the next thing will be much simpler. Walking in this strange and prosperous town, looking at the laughing people around, Suk just felt funny. I wonder how these people will react after knowing that they have been neighbors with Hydra. Emma also seems to like the atmosphere of this town, but of course, she did not forget what Suk had told her before, and she got the information she wanted to know while walking. Not long after, Emma suddenly stopped abruptly, and then looked at a tall man not far away. Hydra agent. When their eyes met, Suk knew what Emma wanted to say. Wait for me here, what happens next might be a bit brutal, I don't want you to see it. Suk said this to Emma with a smile, and then he caught up with the Hydra agent. The town was very lively, and it seemed that they were celebrating some festival. There were pedestrians everywhere. In this situation, the other party did not realize that he was being followed. After walking for a long time and turning a few corners, the Hydra agent suddenly walked into a bar. Outside the bar, there were several tall men with bulging waists, obviously carrying weapons. This is it. Without any hesitation, Suk walked over. Hey, kid, this place is not open to outsiders, get out of here. As expected, when he walked to the door, he was stopped by someone. Suk was not angry, but just looked at the man in front of him calmly and asked, "Are you Hydra?" What? When the other party heard this, he was shocked for a moment, and then 5 pistols were suddenly pointed at Suk's head. Boy, who are you? Why do you know about Hydra? Tell me quickly, or I will kill you. The leading man yelled. Don't get excited, let's talk about killing later. Tell me who is in charge here. You have something I need. If you give it to me, then I might consider sparing you. Suk said with a smile. When the men heard this, they looked at each other in surprise. Is this guy an idiot? He knows who we are and yet he dares to talk to us like this. This guy must be a fool. Okay, stop talking nonsense, kill him quickly, and then dispose of the body, don't let anyone find out. Obviously, in the eyes of these Hydra agents, Suk was no threat to them. As long as they wanted, they could kill Suk in an instant. But then, just as they were about to shoot, everyone felt their feet go empty, and then their bodies fell down suddenly, and below them was a hot and rolling magma. Ah! With a miserable cry, the space channel closed, as if nothing had happened. Really, why are you courting death? I obviously don't want to kill anyone. Shaking his head helplessly, Suk pushed open the door of the bar and walked in. These people are Hydra agents. Suk will naturally not show any mercy to them. Kill them if you deserve to. The bar was extremely lively at the moment. A group of Hydra agents were either playing cards around the table, or getting horny around strippers, or drinking and arm wrestling. No one even noticed that Suk came in. Suk was speechless. Is this really a Hydra base? Are these really Hydra agents? This is too disappointing, right? Suk patted a fat man next to him and said, Hey, can I borrow your body for a while? Then, without waiting for the fat man to react, Suk suddenly picked him up like a chicken, and then smashed him hard against the bar. Boom! With a loud bang, the whole bar suddenly seemed to be blown apart, and the fat man, who was the bomb, was embedded in the wall, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This action instantly attracted everyone's attention. Click, click, click. With the sound of gunshots, all the Hydra soldiers in the bar suddenly stood up and pointed their guns at Suk. Facing such a situation, Suk just said expressionlessly, Tell me where the obelisk is, or you will all die. Dream on. Go to hell. Accompanied by a burst of scolding, everyone pulled the trigger instantly. Bang 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 bang. Then, a burst of gunfire rang out. For a moment, countless bullets shot at Sook, and then ricocheted in all directions, instantly shooting into the bodies of many Hydra soldiers. Stop, 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 someone shouted when they found something was wrong. Then, the gunshot stopped, and everyone looked at Sook in surprise. At this moment, Sook's clothes had been torn. Staring at his clothes, Sook said with some disappointment, "It seems that I was wrong. It is unnecessary to talk to you. You should just die." At the end of his words, Sook suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed the neck of a man in front of him. With a slight twist, the man's neck was broken. Then, time and space channels began to appear all around. Some people fell into the magma, some were dragged away by wild wolves, and some fell into the deep sea. More people were killed directly by Sook. Soon, there was only one Hydra soldier and 2 strippers hiding under the table who survived. Knocking on the table gently, Sook shouted to the strippers hiding under the table, "Hey, don't hide, the bad guys are all dead, you can leave." When the 2 strippers heard this, they didn't even have time to put on their clothes and almost ran out. Sook touched his chin and suddenly felt that something was wrong. It seemed that he was the bad guy to the 2 strippers. Shaking his head, he grabbed the only Hydra soldier still alive and asked, "Now you should be able to tell me where the obelisk is, right?" The scene just now almost scared the Hydra soldier to death, and this was why Sook kept him. This guy was a coward. After what happened just now, he certainly wouldn't dare to hide anything. He stretched out his hand tremblingly, pointed to a door not far away and said, "Over there. There is a door there that leads to an underground base. The thing you want is in the underground base." Underground base. There is an underground base in this place. Throwing away the Hydra soldier in his hand, Sook walked to the door, opened the door, and an elevator appeared in front of him. Without any hesitation, Sook walked in. At the same time, dozens of meters underground in the bar, hundreds of well-equipped Hydra agents were surrounding an elevator with guns in their hands. The moment the elevator opened, everyone pulled the trigger instantly. Da 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 da. Bang 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 bang. In an instant, gunshots rang out like firecrackers, all hitting the elevator. "Get out of the way." A shout sounded, and a grenade was suddenly thrown into the elevator. Boom. Then, another person came over with a rocket launcher and fired a small missile. There is no doubt that this is the real Hydra base. The bar above is just a cover. The Hydra soldiers there are just ordinary fry. The real Hydra elites are all here. Through the cameras installed above, the Hydra agents below already knew that Sook was not an ordinary person, so they directly used heavy weapons and were determined to kill Sook. But what they didn't know was that even so, they still couldn't hurt Sook. After a round of attack, the leading Hydra agent made a pause gesture, and then the gunfire stopped. Everyone approached with a nervous look on their faces. However, after seeing the scene inside the elevator, everyone was shocked again, because there was nothing inside. How could this happen? Where did the people go? For a moment, the Hydra agents became nervous again. "Hey, are you looking for me?" Suddenly at this moment, a voice sounded behind them. Everyone looked back and saw that Sook had appeared behind them without knowing when, and was looking at them with a smile on his face. Kill. Without any hesitation, everyone was ready to pull the trigger again. But Sook didn't intend to give them another chance. His eyes were stern, and the domineering aura in his body was sensed, and it burst out all of a sudden. In the next second, these Hydra agents fell one after another, and only a few were still struggling. This is a power they have never seen before. Sook ignored the fainted Hydra agents, but came straight to a Hydra agent who was still conscious, and then slowly asked, "Tell me, where is the obelisk?" The Hydra agent was very hard-mouthed and said stubbornly, "I don't know, I am." Wrong answer, you better die. But before he could finish his words, Sook suddenly grabbed his shoulder and threw him out, then slammed him hard against a wall. Because of the great force, the Hydra agent's body exploded instantly, and blood and internal organs mixed together to stain a large bloody scene on the wall. Then, Sook came to the second awake Hydra agent. "Tell me, where is the obelisk?" So long-winded. Looking at the stuttering guy with displeasure, Sook grabbed him again and threw him to another wall. Soon, another corpse exploded, and another painting appeared on the wall. Then, Suk came to the last sober Hydra agent, and at this moment, after seeing how Suk dealt with the first 2 Hydra agents, this guy's face turned pale with fright. Before Suk could ask, this guy suddenly pointed in a direction and said, "Over there. What you are looking for is over there. Go straight ahead, then turn left and keep going inside. Then you will see a laboratory. What you want is there." "Very good." Suk nodded with satisfaction, and then, I still threw him out, and then, a bloody red word appeared on the 3rd wall. "I didn't say I won't kill you." After saying this lightly, Suk looked in the direction that the Hydra agent had pointed before. As for those guys who were stunned by the domineering aura, Suk decided to hand them over to S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, the information about this place was provided by S.H.I.E.L.D., and he had to leave some for them. The previous domineering aura was an indiscriminate attack. Everyone in the base was attacked by Suk's domineering aura. Except for a few people, almost everyone else fainted. Suk walked all the way, but he ignored anyone who fainted. When he met those who didn't faint, he killed them without hesitation, without any mercy. Just kidding, these guys are Hydra, only idiots would show mercy to them. Not long after Suk left, on the ground, S.H.I.E.L.D. finally arrived late. "Don't move. Put your hands up, we are." After kicking the door of the bar open, Coulson immediately shouted loudly, but he was only halfway through his words when he suddenly couldn't shout anymore. At this moment, the bar was full of broken limbs and arms, and the whole room was filled with a strong smell of blood, just like hell. For a moment, Coulson thought of who did this. Let's clean it up and see if there are any secret passages or something, and then see if there are any survivors. Coulson instructed an agent beside him, then he walked out and shouted into the intercom, "Sir, we're late, it seems that he has destroyed the Hydra base. This him is undoubtedly Suk." At this moment, in the Hydra underground base, Suk finally found the obelisk. In addition, there was a Hydra agent with clear consciousness. Judging from the clothes he was wearing, he should be a person like a commander. But at this time Suk was too lazy to pay attention to this guy, and went directly to the glass cabinet where the obelisk was placed. In an instant, the obelisk appeared completely in his sight. It was a very strange substance, between crystal and metal, emitting a charming light. "Kid. Who are you? Why are you attacking us?" the Hydra officer asked, panting. He tried to stand up, but still couldn't stand up. "The power just now. You did it, didn't you? What kind of power is this and why is it so strong?" the Hydra officer asked again, but was still ignored by Suk. Then, Suk opened the glass cabinet and reached out to pick up the obelisk. When the Hydra officer saw this, a trace of imperceptible ferocity suddenly flashed in his eyes, and then he continued, "Boy, do you know what this is? This is something we spent decades to find. It is something that can give humans superpowers and even make people immortal." Having said that, Suk finally took the obelisk in his hand. Almost instantly, the Hydra officer's face suddenly turned crazy, and he laughed wildly, "Go to hell." The obelisk is a mysterious substance that Hydra obtained a long time ago. According to the sayings that have been passed down before, it is a mysterious object that can give humans superpowers. But after countless experiments by Hydra, they found that this thing can only turn people into stone, and cannot give humans superpowers. Obviously, this is because they have not found humans with inhuman genes. In the eyes of the Hydra officers, as long as Suk touches the obelisk, he will definitely die. But then, the scene in front of him made him a little stunned. At this moment, Suk was holding the obelisk in his hand and playing with it, as if he was playing with a toy. How could it turn into a 000 stone? Ding! Successfully obtained the Hydra's obelisk. Mission reward: 200,000 villain points, 1 chance to draw a lottery. Hearing the system's prompt, Suk nodded with satisfaction, and then looked at the officer next to him. He didn't want to pay attention to this guy, but the tone of this guy's words just now really made him a little unhappy. "You call this thing an obelisk, right? But I can tell you its other name, the Terungan crystal. You are right about one thing. This thing can indeed give humans superpowers, but not all humans. It can only be the inhumans who carry the inhuman gene. If it is an ordinary human, then he will only turn into stone and die. What a pity. If you could have found some humans with inhuman genes for experiments earlier, you would have had an army of inhumans with superpowers by now. But Red Skull is an idiot, he doesn't understand these. If he did, the world would have belonged to Hydra by now. Suke was ready to continue showing off his knowledge, but when he saw the officer's confused face, he suddenly lost interest. Forget it, what else can I say to you? Since you are so interested in this thing, I will let you try it. As he spoke, Suke gently placed the obelisk in his hand on the officer's head. Almost instantly, before the officer could react, the top of his head quickly turned into a substance similar to black stone. With the obelisk in hand, there was no point in staying here any longer. As for the rest, let S.H.I.E.L.D. handle it. As for the Terungan crystal, Sook put it into the system space. Thinking about it carefully, if I have nothing to do in the future, it would be nice to create 2 Inhumans to play with. A space channel opened, and Suke was instantly beside Emma. After taking Emma with him, he returned to his home. At the same time, Suke didn't know that something was happening in the distant universe that could change the fate of the Earth. In a star field that no one dared to approach, a tall young man with a wicked smile on his face was walking forward step by step. He was Loki, the evil god Loki. Thor's younger brother, the Prince of Asgard. I felt it again, the space stone has awakened, it is in a tiny world, the human world, the humble humans want to use the space stone, but that is not the power they can control, in this universe, no one can control it except me, no one. In the darkness in front of Loki, a tall humanoid creature suddenly stood up slowly, and then walked forward step by step. This made Loki feel great mental pressure, and his feet could no longer move. Then, the creature in the dark finally appeared in front of Loki, and the iconic purple potato face seemed to tell his identity. Thanos. Standing in front of Thanos, Loki's inner pressure can be imagined. Although he is the Prince of Asgard, he still can't help but feel a sense of fear when facing Thanos. This guy is really too strong. With his knees slightly bent, Loki half knelt in front of Thanos, and then slowly said, I will be your pioneer and open the passage to the Earth for you. After that, I will return the space stone to you with both hands, but please remember your previous promise to me. Thanos took a scepter from his subordinates behind him, then handed it to Loki and said, Go, Asgardian, my promise will not change. As long as you help me get the space stone, the Earth will be yours, Asgard will be yours, but the rest of the universe will all be mine. The scepter in his hand emitted a yellow light, shining on Loki's face, making him a little crazy. Odin passed the throne to Thor, which Loki could not accept. Later, he wanted to frame Thor, but was discovered by Thor and Odin. He was even expelled from Asgard. This was unbearable for Loki, who was always proud and arrogant. He hated Thor and Odin. In his opinion, the throne of Asgard should be his. He wanted Thor to suffer. Doesn't Thor care about the Earth very much? Doesn't he like a woman on Earth very much? Then he would destroy the Earth, kill the woman Thor likes, and make him suffer. When he thought of this, Loki was excited again. Meanwhile, on Earth, Sook was lying by his swimming pool, basking in the sun, Emma was taking a nap in the house, and Black Widow was kneeling beside Sook, waiting for Sook's orders. It must be said that Sook really enjoyed this kind of life. He had been living like this for the past few days. He felt that he and Red Tank were both a little decadent. Of course, there were unhappy things, such as the system lottery that time he got the obelisk. He actually drew a set of underwear, which made him extremely upset, but fortunately it was a set of underwear for women, and it was very suitable for Emma. As for Black Widow, she has been quite normal these days. She has fulfilled her duties as a maid and is very good at serving people. However, Suke doesn't care what she is thinking. It is a very pleasant thing to have such a beauty as a maid. It seems that it was a correct choice to keep Black Widow. Although she can't be eaten, she is not bad for the eyes. Staring at the Black Widow next to him, Suke suddenly said, Natasha, I have to say you are a beautiful beauty. You are really good at dealing with men. When the Black Widow heard this, a charming look suddenly appeared on her face, and then she said in a coquettish tone, although you said so, I have been here for a few days, but you still don't want to touch me. Is there something wrong with me? Touch you? Suke smiled slightly, and looked up and down at the Black Widow again. Seeing Suke's eyes looking at her, the charm on the Black Widow's face became stronger. The Black Widow thought that she was perfect in both appearance and figure, but after living with Suke for 3 consecutive days, Suke not only did not touch her, but even rarely looked at her directly. She initially suspected that it was because Suke was an alien, so his aesthetics were different from those on Earth. But then, she gave up the idea, because there was an Emma besides Suke. In terms of looks and figure, Black Widow feels that she is no worse than Emma, but why does Suke look down on her? This makes her very depressed, so once there is a chance to show off, she will work harder. Hee. However, Suke just smiled lightly at Black Widow's performance and didn't take it to heart at all. There is no doubt that Black Widow must have a plan when she came here. Although it is not clear what it is, Suke can't accept sleeping with a woman with a purpose. He already has Emma and Jean, both of whom love him deeply, so why should he bother with such a woman? Okay, I'm a little sleepy. I'll go take a rest first. You should take a rest too. Anyway, there's nothing to do now, Suke said, and suddenly stood up and walked towards the bedroom, leaving Black Widow alone sitting by the swimming pool. Faced with Suke's behavior, Black Widow was somewhat disappointed, but then she lay down on a chair next to her and silently stared at the swimming pool in front of her. In the past few days with Suke, although she has always been treated as a maid, she enjoys such a life very much, because such a life is peaceful enough, and she hasn't had such a peaceful life for a long time. As a senior agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., she is almost always on missions and is always alert to everything. Similarly, she is also facing assassinations from other countries or organizations. But during this time at Suke's house, such a thing would never happen. Because no matter whether it is Hydra, S.H.I.E.L.D. or any other organization, they dare not provoke Suke, which is no different from suicide. If possible, she would like to continue like this, even if she has been a maid all the time. But at this moment, a call from Coulson successfully interrupted her illusion. Coulson, didn't we agree before? Don't call me when I'm here, Black Widow said speechlessly as soon as she answered the phone. Coming to Sook's house as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent is already a very risky thing. If Sook finds out that she is still in contact with S.H.I.E.L.D., it will be difficult for her to do anything else. You have to come back quickly, Coulson said seriously on the other end of the phone. What happened? Noticing that Coulson's tone was wrong, Black Widow hurriedly asked. The cosmic cube was stolen by an alien named Loki. The director asked you to come back quickly. If possible, try to reveal this news to him. He seems to have known for a long time that this guy named Loki would come to steal the cosmic cube. This may not be an ordinary battle. We need his help. At this point, Coulson hung up the phone. Cosmic cube, alien. When she heard these two words, Black Widow realized the seriousness of the problem in an instant, because no matter what happened, as long as it was related to aliens, it would be very troublesome. But before leaving, Black Widow decided to tell Suke about this matter as Coulson said before. After all, Suke has great power. If he is willing to help, then this matter will become much simpler. But just as she was about to get close to the bedroom, a burst of rapid panting suddenly came from the bedroom. All of a sudden, Black Widow knew what was happening in the bedroom. Her face froze, and she finally withdrew her hand that was about to knock on the door, and then sat down in the living room, because at this time, she really couldn't disturb. But what made her speechless was that the noise lasted for more than an hour. Even as a person who had experienced it, her face turned red. When there was no more noise in the bedroom, Black Widow walked over. But before he could knock on the door, Suke's voice rang out. Come in. What? Did he know I was outside all along? Black Widow was startled, but then she recovered and gently opened the door and walked in. In the bedroom, Emma was taking a bath in the bathroom, while Suke was lying comfortably on a big bed, looking at her with a half smile. If it was an ordinary person, his face would have been flushed by now, but as an agent, Black Widow's face still did not show any emotion. Coulson called just now and said, an alien named Loki came to Earth and stole the space stone from S.H.I.E.L.D., and he was going to use the space stone to invade Earth, right? Before Black Widow could finish her words, Sook suddenly interrupted her. How do you know? The Black Widow was a little surprised, and Suke seemed to know more than she did. Suke smiled, then pointed to his ears and said, come on, I have super hearing, okay? You can't hide anything from me. Black Widow was silent. She had underestimated Suk after all. After a moment of silence, Black Widow asked again, "What are you going to do? Will you help us fight Loki?" When she said this, Black Widow was very worried, because if Suke was unwilling, this matter would be very troublesome. "Loki, that kid needs so much trouble. He is not my brother," Suke complained in his heart, and then he said, "You go back and wait first, I will go there by myself later." Hearing this, Black Widow was relieved, and stared at Suke on the bed, again, and then she turned and left. After Black Widow left, Suke began to ponder. He guessed right. The time of the Battle of New York was indeed advanced, and the plot of the Avengers was about to begin. Similarly, he also ushered in his own mission. That is to help form the Avengers. But when he thought of Tony killing Bucky before, Suke became quite worried again, because he knew that Rogers must have hated Tony because of this matter. If there was no Rogers, could the Avengers still be formed? Thinking of this, Suke shook his head again and could only take one step at a time. Loki's invasion of the Earth might be a bad thing for others, but for Suke, it is a great thing. Why? Because Loki will come to the Earth with his scepter, and the gem on the scepter is the Mind Gem, one of the Infinity Gems. Suke is determined to get this gem. If you think about it carefully, Loki really looks like a boy who spreads money. When Suke thought of this, he found it funny. "What are you laughing at? You look so happy." Suddenly at this moment, the bathroom door was opened, and Emma came out wrapped in a bath towel. Suk smiled and said, "Nothing, someone is coming to bring me a baby, and I'm happy." Send a baby. Emma didn't understand what it meant when she heard this, but she didn't care, she just asked, "Where's Natasha? Wasn't she here just now?" She went back. "S.H.I.E.L.D. has something very important for her to do. I will be there soon." At this point, Suke suddenly thought of something, then looked at Emma and said, "Emma, you should leave here for the time being, or go to a mutant school, anyway, just don't stay in New York." "Why? What happened?" Aware that Suke had something to say, Emma sat down next to Suke with some concern. "Actually, it's nothing, just an alien army is going to attack the Earth," Suke said with a smile, as if he was talking about something very ordinary. Emma was a little speechless. "Is this what you call nothing happened? Loki's invasion of the Earth will not succeed in the end. Even if the Avengers cannot be formed successfully, Suk will stop Loki. Anyway, the task assigned by the system before was just to help Loki invade the Earth, but it did not say that he could not kill him after the invasion. But then again, the main battlefield this time is New York. Suk is really worried that Emma will be injured, so he wanted Emma to leave here first." But when she heard this, Emma shook her head, and then said stubbornly, "Please, am I so weak in your heart? I am also a warrior." As she spoke, Emma's whole body suddenly turned into a diamond form, as if telling of her own strength. Suk was a little helpless, but seeing Emma so persistent, he didn't say anything. Anyway, Emma is absolutely capable of protecting herself. After putting on his clothes and instructing Emma again, Suk opened a space channel and came to S.H.I.E.L.D. "Welcome." As soon as Suk stepped into S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson came to greet him. It was obvious that he had been waiting for Suk. And it must be said that he was a little surprised by Suk's arrival. Suk looked around and then asked, "Where are the people? I'm not the only one here, am I?" "Of course not, please follow me," Coulson said, and hurriedly led the way. Soon, Suk followed Coulson to a large place that looked like a conference room, and at this moment, there were only 3 people here. Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Black Widow, and Iron Man Tony Stark. Of course, there are also Coulson and Suk. It was Suk's expectation that Rogers didn't come, but the current team is really too thin, right? In addition to himself, there is only Tony and Black Widow. Is this also the Avengers? Shaking his head helplessly, Suk found a place to sit down casually. "Welcome, thank you very much for coming." Nick Fury stood up and expressed his gratitude to Suk, and Tony just nodded to Suk. After what happened before, Tony already regarded Suk as a good friend, so he didn't need Nick Fury to be so polite. But the Black Widow looked at Suk with a resentful look, which made him a little puzzled. What's wrong with this woman? But then again, it has only been about 5 days since Tony attacked S.H.I.E.L.D., and Tony actually sat with Nick Fury again. It seems that the relationship between these two guys is really unusual. Then, looking down, Sook found that there was a document with the Avengers plan written on it. Are these guys trying to invite me to join the Avengers? Soo-K curled his lips and thought, first of all, he would never join any organization on Earth, whether it was the Avengers, the X-Men, or even the Justice League. He had no interest in any of them. Because once you join these organizations, you will be bound by various rules, such as going on missions, not killing people, teamwork, etc. He has always hated these. But although he can't join, it doesn't mean he can't help. Besides, he still has tasks to do. Very good, now that everyone is here, let's get started. Then, just when Sook was thinking about it, Nick Fury finally spoke. The Avengers project was something I decided with Tony a long time ago. We believed that the Earth would sooner or later face a great disaster, and this disaster was not something that any hero or organization could resist. We had to gather the most powerful heroes on Earth to face such a disaster. Now, I feel. Wait, before Nick Fury finished speaking, Sook, who was flipping through the Avengers plan, suddenly raised his hand. Nick Fury was a little surprised and asked, "What's the matter?" Throwing the plan aside, Sook said helplessly, "Are you serious? Didn't you say you want to gather the most powerful heroes on Earth? Why not include Thor and Hulk? In the Avengers, Thor and Hulk are definitely two heavyweight members, but Sook flipped through the Avengers plan and didn't find these two guys at all, which made him speechless. Without Thor and Hulk, what kind of Avengers is it? Isn't this nonsense? Hearing this, everyone present, including Tony, was stunned. But then, Nick Fury said, "It's not that we don't want to, but we are really powerless against these two guys. Thor is the Prince of Asgard, he is not on Earth now, and as for Hulk, we have already lost contact with him. Besides, Hulk is uncontrollable, he is not suitable to be a hero." Sook, Nick is right. I considered both of them at the beginning, but Thor doesn't seem to have much interest in the organizations on Earth. As for Hulk, that's a completely uncontrollable monster. Then Tony also spoke. Soo-K was a little speechless. How come this is different from the movies? It turns out that you can't do anything without me. Let's not talk about Hulk for now. You have to solve Thor's problem first and find a way to find him. Sook said. Nick Fury was a little stunned and said, "What? Are you sure you can get him to join the Avengers? But he seems to have returned to Asgard. How come these guys don't know anything?" Shaking his head helplessly, Sook said, "Maybe you don't know yet. Thor, the god of thunder, is Loki's brother." What? As soon as these words came out, everyone present was stunned again. Thor was actually Loki's brother, which was really too incredible, etc. Nick Fury's face turned pale, and he suddenly thought of something extremely scary. First, Thor came to Earth, and then Loki. Loki not only stole the Space Stone, but also led an alien army to invade Earth. Could it be that the alien army he was talking about was the army of Asgard? More precisely, did Asgard want to invade Earth? If all the Asgardians really had superpowers like Thor and Loki, then wouldn't Earth be completely doomed? Although Sook didn't have telepathy, when he saw Nick Fury's pale face, he knew that this guy was probably thinking wrongly. Then, he said, "Don't get me wrong, this matter has nothing to do with Thor and Asgard, and Thor and Loki are not brothers at all. Loki is the son of the Frost Giants, and there is no blood relationship between them. Originally, King Odin of Asgard was going to pass the throne to Thor, but Loki was dissatisfied, and then he found an opportunity to frame Thor, and then Thor came to Earth." Quote, "You all know who Thor is, right? He is a man who hates evil. If he knew his brother was going to attack the Earth with an alien army, would he not come to help?" Although they understood the cause and effect, Tony and the others were a little surprised when they looked at Sook again, because they found that Sook knew too much detail, as if he had been paying attention to all this. "So, can you help us contact Thor?" After understanding the key point of the matter, Nick Fury hurriedly asked again. The reason why he didn't add Thor to the list of Avengers before was, firstly, because Thor was an alien, and secondly, because Asgard where Thor lived was an unknown place for humans, and they didn't know how to contact Thor at all. But now listening to what Sook said, he seemed to know where Thor was, and coupled with the fact that this matter was caused by Thor's brother Loki, Thor and even the entire Asgard would certainly not be able to stand idly by. As long as Thor is found, then he might really join the Avengers. Thinking of this, Nick Fury's previous nervous mood finally relaxed completely. For a moment, everyone's eyes were on Suk again. Suk smiled and said, "Don't look at me like that, I don't know Thor, how can I contact him like this?" As soon as these words came out, everyone was dumbfounded. Coulson couldn't help but complain in his heart, "I don't know what you are talking about. You made us happy for nothing." But then, Suke suddenly continued, "Although I don't know him, I can take you to find him. How about it? Does anyone want to go to Asgard?" After saying this with a smile, Suke's mind moved again, and in an instant, a space channel appeared beside him. At the other end of the space channel, it was Asgard's Rainbow Bridge. Everyone was shocked again. "Let's go." After greeting everyone, Suke walked in directly. "Wait for me. Tony has always been interested in alien technology and aliens." He walked in with a suitcase beside him. Needless to say, the suitcase contained his armor. Coulson looked at the space channel in front of him with some excitement. Through the channel, he could see the scenery of Asgard directly, which made him a little incredible. "Okay, Coulson, I'll leave this matter to you. After all, you're the only one among us who knows him. Remember, you must convince him. Natasha and I are here." As the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury naturally couldn't leave here, so he could only let Coulson go with him. Yes, Coulson agreed tremblingly, and then he hurried in. Just after Coulson walked in, the space channel disappeared, as if it had never existed. After the space channel completely disappeared from his sight, Nick Fury looked at the Black Widow and said, "Why don't you go? This is a good opportunity for an alien trip." The Black Widow was silent at first, and then she slowly said, "I can't stay by his side any longer. If I go on like this, I feel I will lose my fighting power. I feel too safe by his side, and I feel like I'm just an ordinary woman." Nick Fury smiled and said, "Natasha, you are not in love with him, are you? Don't forget, this is just a mission, and you are an agent. Don't worry, Nick, I know what I'm doing." After saying this lightly, Black Widow left. On the other side, Asgard. Looking back, Suk was somewhat surprised that Black Widow was not there, but then he was relieved, and then he looked at Coulson and Tony. Because they were going to an alien planet, Tony put on his armor without any hesitation, and then looked around, exclaiming from time to time. Coulson was even funnier. He was so excited that he almost couldn't move. He walked for a long time before taking a few steps. Suk was speechless. If these two guys kept going like this, when would they be able to see Thor? Just as he was about to say something, a burst of shouting suddenly sounded from not far away. "Who dares to trespass into Asgard?" Then, a tall man in golden armor suddenly appeared in front of them, holding a glittering golden holy sword in his hand. Heimdall. With just one glance, Suk guessed his identity. Heimdall is the patron saint of Asgard, responsible for guarding the Rainbow Bridge. He has the eye of Heimdall that can perceive everything. He is the guardian sentinel of Asgard who can see and hear everything. He is also one of the most trusted servants of Odin and Tony. But what really concerned Suk was Heimdall's pair of golden eyes. When those eyes stared at him, Suk felt like he was seen through, which made him very uncomfortable. Don't get excited, we are not enemies, we are here to find Thor." Seeing the other party's murderous intent, Coulson hurriedly said with a nervous face. "Don't worry, you will see him, but that will be after I send you to him as prisoners." Heimdall said angrily, and began to swing the holy sword in his hand. "Back off, Coulson, this guy won't listen to you," Tony said, and took Coulson to a far place, and then came to Suk. "How about it? Do you want to fight?" Tony asked nervously. After all, he asked Thor for help. If a fight really broke out here, would Thor still help? "Don't worry, I know what to do." Suk smiled lightly, and then walked towards Heimdall. Then, when he saw that Heimdall's holy sword was about to chop over, Suk suddenly stretched out his hand and said, "Heimdall, kneel down." At the same time, a strong breath began to burst out from Suk's body and quickly attacked Heimdall. In an instant, Heimdall felt his mind suddenly shaken, and he almost couldn't hold the holy sword in his hand. His body also softened in vain, and he almost knelt down. However, as the god of Asgard, he reacted instantly and tightened the holy sword in his hand again. He suddenly jumped back and landed dozens of meters away from Suk. "What's going on?" Heimdall thought with some fear in his heart. He didn't care about the other party asking him to kneel down before. The man just did nothing, but he felt a strong mental pressure, and this kind of pressure he had never felt on Odin. This man is not simple. Very simple. At the same time, Suk was somewhat disappointed. You know, he didn't hold back his domineering aura just now, but Heimdall was still able to stand up. The people of Asgard were really strong. His eyes wandered around Suk for a while, and Heimdall suddenly shouted in surprise, You are a Titan, how is this possible? Didn't Thanos kill all his people? This eye is really useful. I really want to dig it out. After complaining in his heart, Suk finally said, Since you know who I am, this matter will be much easier. I will only say once, I want to see Thor. If you stop me again, then I will no longer be polite to you. You must know that there is more than one mad titan. When Heimdall heard this, his face instantly turned ugly. The matter about the mad titan Thanos has always been everyone's nightmare. Wherever he passes, all life will die and all planets will be destroyed. Heimdall has eyes that perceive everything, and he sees such scenes almost every day. But he never thought that a titan would come to Asgard. 000. This is troublesome, because all titans are crazy and powerful. Invaders, lay down your weapons. I am Thor, the Prince of Asgard. Just as Heimdall was nervously considering what to do, a shout mixed with thunder and lightning suddenly came from the sky. Looking up, everyone saw a tall blonde man flying over with a hammer. Who else could it be besides Thor? Don't be careless, my king, we are facing a titan. Thor just landed on the Rainbow Bridge, and Heimdall reminded him. Titan. When Thor heard this, his heart suddenly sank. Obviously, he also knew something about the mad titan Thanos. I wonder what a titan wants to do when he comes to Asgard. If you want to destroy Asgard, then I will definitely defeat you. Thor raised the hammer in his hand, and instantly caused a thunderstorm, and the whole sky was shining brightly. Suk was a little speechless. Does this guy like to show off so much? Then, he suddenly stretched out his right hand, and then in the surprised eyes of everyone, he absorbed all the thunderstorms in the sky into his body. Lightning is also a kind of energy, he can still absorb it at will. Thor's hammer in his hand was almost dropped to the ground, and the same was true for the holy sword in Heimdall's hand. What kind of operation is this? They are a little confused. After absorbing all the thunderstorms that Thor had summoned before into his body, Suk's heart moved again, and then he suddenly raised his hand. In an instant, the thunderstorms that he had absorbed before were instantly released, and he also deliberately injected the power of the phoenix. Almost instantly, a terrifying thunderstorm ball the size of an asteroid and mixed with the power of the phoenix suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Then, everyone was completely stunned, and Thor's hammer and Heimdall's holy sword finally fell to the ground. Feeling the powerful force of the thunderstorm ball, Thor and Heimdall knew in their hearts that if this thing fell on Asgard, it would definitely destroy Asgard. And this thing is something they can never stop. Asgardians, since you know my identity, why dare you be so rude to me? I'm very angry, and the consequences of my anger are very serious. Suk said with a wicked smile. Seeing that Suk was about to destroy Asgard, Coulson was almost scared to death, and thought to himself, brother, are you kidding me? We are here to find someone to help us today. What do you mean by destroying the world at every turn? Then, without the slightest hesitation, Coulson ran between Suk and Thor, and shouted, everyone, don't be impulsive, we can discuss it if we have something to say. Thor, do you still recognize me? I'm Agent Coulson of S.H.I.E.L.D. We've met before. Coulson. Thor hadn't noticed the person behind Suk before, but when he took a closer look, he recognized him immediately. Coulson, my friend, why are you here? Thor was a little surprised. We have something very important to tell you, but before that, please don't make him angry, otherwise he might really destroy Asgard. Believe me, he is not an enemy. Coulson advised again without bothering to talk about business. Hearing this, and taking another look at the thunderstorm ball in the sky containing the power of the phoenix, Thor came to Suk and said apologetically, sorry, we were too impulsive before, please don't be angry. Tony also advised, hey, Suk, don't play too much, this thing is not a joke when it falls, put it away quickly. Suk's purpose of showing his power was not to destroy Asgard, but to intimidate Thor. Now that his goal had been achieved and Thor had apologized, he stopped. With a thought, the ball of thunderstorm instantly returned to his body. As expected, the Titans are all powerful and Heimdall shook his head, feeling very sorry for Suk's arrival, but he could do nothing about it, because at this moment, Odin was still asleep, and Thor was obviously no match for Suk. If they attacked Asgard, they would not be able to resist at all. To express my apologies for what happened just now, please follow me. I will treat you well. After being demoted by Odin before, Tony has obviously matured a lot. After confirming that Suk really had no hostility towards Asgard, he enthusiastically extended his invitation. Naturally, Suk and others would not refuse this invitation. After all, this is not a place to talk. But before leaving, Suk suddenly thought of something, and then looked at Heimdall with a smile on his face and said, "Heimdall, your eyes, I am very interested in them." Heimdall turned pale and subconsciously avoided Suk's gaze. It was obvious that he was worried that Suk would really dig out his eyes. The Titans are really crazy. Although he didn't want Suk to enter Asgard, Thor had already invited Suk. This was the king's order, and he couldn't refuse it. Besides, he was powerless to stop Suk from doing anything. Hey, in front of the Titan, even though he is a god of Asgard, he is still like an ant. But at this time, no one cares about him anymore. Suk and others have followed Thor into Asgard. Asgard has ruled the 9 realms for thousands of years, its technology and strength are far beyond the level of the earth. Along the way, Tony and Coulson are just like a curious baby, closely observing everything around them. Coulson is more worried, because he found that even the most ordinary people in Asgard have powerful power. If Asgard really intends to invade the earth, then they have almost no chance of winning. As the few people walked along, many people in Asgard would salute Thor very respectfully. When they saw Suk and others, a trace of vigilance flashed in their eyes. After all, they also saw the huge thunderstorm ball that appeared in the air before. But at this moment, Suk was too lazy to pay attention to them. Soon, everyone came to the place in Asgard specially used to entertain guests. Not long after they sat down, all kinds of delicious food were served. "My friends, please don't be polite. Since you have come to Asgard, I must treat you well." Thor greeted them generously. Suk and others were not polite either. After all, these alien delicacies were not available every day. After 3 rounds of drinks, Coulson said, "Thor, to be honest, the reason why we came to Asgard today is entirely because of your brother's affairs." "My brother, Loki, what bad things has he done again?" Thor said in surprise. "He stole the cosmic cube from S.H.I.E.L.D. and said he would lead an alien army to attack the Earth," Tony said as he took another sip of the Asgardian red wine. This guy. When Tony heard this, his face finally turned ugly. "It seems that I have been too kind to him, which is why he is so presumptuous. Where is he now? I will capture him and put him in prison in Asgard forever," Thor said angrily. "We can't find him yet. He seems to be hiding his whereabouts, but we are sure that he will attack the Earth with alien troops, so we hope you can help us," Coulson said, and put a copy of the Avengers plan in front of Thor. After absorbing all the thunderstorms that Thor had summoned before into his body, Suk's heart moved again, and then he suddenly raised his hand. In an instant, the thunderstorms that he had absorbed before were instantly released, and he also deliberately injected the power of the Phoenix. Almost instantly, a terrifying thunderstorm ball the size of an asteroid and mixed with the power of the Phoenix suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Then, everyone was completely stunned, and Thor's hammer and Heimdall's holy sword finally fell to the ground. Feeling the powerful force of the thunderstorm ball, Thor and Heimdall knew in their hearts that if this thing fell on Asgard, it would definitely destroy Asgard. And this thing is something they can never stop. "Asgardians, since you know my identity, why dare you be so rude to me? I'm very angry, and the consequences of my anger are very serious," Suk said with a wicked smile. Seeing that Suk was about to destroy Asgard, Coulson was almost scared to death, and thought to himself, "Brother, are you kidding me? We are here to find someone to help us today. What do you mean by destroying the world at every turn?" Then, without the slightest hesitation, Coulson ran between Suk and Thor, and shouted, "Everyone, don't be impulsive, we can discuss it if we have something to say. Thor, do you still recognize me? I'm Agent Coulson of S.H.I.E.L.D. We've met before. Coulson. Thor hadn't noticed the person behind Suk before, but when he took a closer look, he recognized him immediately. Coulson, my friend, why are you here? Thor was a little surprised. We have something very important to tell you, but before that, please don't make him angry, otherwise he might really destroy Asgard. Believe me, he is not an enemy. Coulson advised again without bothering to talk about business. Hearing this, and taking another look at the thunderstorm ball in the sky containing the power of the phoenix, Thor came to Suk and said apologetically, "Sorry, we were too impulsive before, please don't be angry." Tony also advised, "Hey, Suk, don't play too much, this thing is not a joke when it falls, put it away quickly." Suk's purpose of showing his power was not to destroy Asgard, but to intimidate Thor. Now that his goal had been achieved and Thor had apologized, he stopped. With a thought, the ball of thunderstorm instantly returned to his body. As expected, the Titans are all powerful and Heimdall shook his head, feeling very sorry for Suk's arrival, but he could do nothing about it, because at this moment, Odin was still asleep, and Thor was obviously no match for Suk. If they attacked Asgard, they would not be able to resist at all. To express my apologies for what happened just now, please follow me. I will treat you well. After being demoted by Odin before, Tony has obviously matured a lot. After confirming that Suk really had no hostility towards Asgard, he enthusiastically extended his invitation. Naturally, Suk and others would not refuse this invitation. After all, this is not a place to talk. But before leaving, Suk suddenly thought of something, and then looked at Heimdall with a smile on his face and said, "Heimdall, your eyes, I am very interested in them." Heimdall turned pale and subconsciously avoided Suk's gaze. It was obvious that he was worried that Suk would really dig out his eyes. The Titans are really crazy. Although he didn't want Suk to enter Asgard, Thor had already invited Suk. This was the king's order, and he couldn't refuse it. Besides, he was powerless to stop Suk from doing anything. Hey, in front of the Titan, even though he is a god of Asgard, he is still like an ant. But at this time, no one cares about him anymore. Suk and others have followed Thor into Asgard. Asgard has ruled the 9 realms for thousands of years, its technology and strength are far beyond the level of the earth. Along the way, Tony and Coulson are just like a curious baby, closely observing everything around them. Coulson is more worried, because he found that even the most ordinary people in Asgard have powerful power. If Asgard really intends to invade the earth, then they have almost no chance of winning. As the few people walked along, many people in Asgard would salute Thor very respectfully. When they saw Suk and others, a trace of vigilance flashed in their eyes. After all, they also saw the huge thunderstorm ball that appeared in the air before. But at this moment, Suk was too lazy to pay attention to them. Soon, everyone came to the place in Asgard specially used to entertain guests. Not long after they sat down, all kinds of delicious food were served. "My friends, please don't be polite. Since you have come to Asgard, I must treat you well." Thor greeted them generously. Suk and others were not polite either. After all, these alien delicacies were not available every day. After 3 rounds of drinks, Coulson said, "Thor, to be honest, the reason why we came to Asgard today is entirely because of your brother's affairs." "My brother, Loki, what bad things has he done again?" Thor said in surprise. "He stole the cosmic cube from S.H.I.E.L.D. and said he would lead an alien army to attack the Earth," Tony said as he took another sip of the Asgardian red wine. "This guy." When Tony heard this, his face finally turned ugly. "It seems that I have been too kind to him, which is why he is so presumptuous. Where is he now? I will capture him and put him in prison in Asgard forever." Thor said angrily. "We can't find him yet. He seems to be hiding his whereabouts, but we are sure that he will attack the Earth with alien troops, so we hope you can help us," Coulson said, and put a copy of the Avengers plan in front of Thor. Chapter 51. What is this? Thor asked in surprise. "In order to fight against Loki and his alien army, we decided to form a team called the Avengers. We hope." "Stop talking. I'm in." Thor suddenly spoke before Coulson finished speaking. "Join." Coulson was a little stunned. He didn't expect that things would be so easy. Thor agreed before he finished speaking. Seeing that Coulson was a little confused, Thor explained again, "This incident happened because of my brother Loki. Asgard has an unshakable responsibility. As the Prince of Asgard, I must help you. But I am very curious about one thing. You already have a Titan. Why do you still come to me? No matter how powerful Loki is, he will never be the opponent of a Titan. As he spoke, Thor looked at Suk, who had been silent all the time. Don't get me wrong, Suke said while drinking wine. I have no interest in things like war, and I will not join the Avengers. At most, I can help a little. This matter still depends on you. Coulson and Tony were speechless again when they heard this. In general, the purpose of coming to Asgard this time was successfully accomplished. Although Thor agreed to join the Avengers, he needed to deal with the affairs of Asgard before going to Earth. After all, since Odin fell asleep, he has been the king of the entire Asgard. Coulson naturally agreed to this. Then, another space channel opened. After crossing it, Suk and others instantly returned to S.H.I.E.L.D., and at this time, there was no one here. Thinking back to what happened just now, Coulson still looked excited. You know, not everyone has the opportunity to go to an alien planet and taste the food of alien planets. Oh, I almost forgot, I still have to find the director to report this matter. Please feel free to come and see me. If there is any new news, I will inform you immediately. Then, Coulson suddenly thought of something, then said hello to Suk and Tony and left. Tony took a lot of photos in Asgard, and now he wanted to go back to study them. After saying goodbye to Suk, he also left. For a while, Suk was the only one left in the room. Pulling a stool casually and sitting down, Suk began to think about the issue of the members of the Avengers. According to previous understanding, he knew that the people who have been confirmed to join the Avengers are Iron Man, Tony Stark, Black Widow, Thor, Ant-Man and Hawkeye, who was controlled by Loki with the Mind Stone. Originally, Captain America was going to join the Avengers, but because of Tony's killing of Bucky before, Rogers was unwilling to face Tony, so no one knew whether he would join the Avengers. As for the Hulk, the original core member of the Avengers, he was also abandoned by the Avengers because he could not be found and controlled. In other words, there are only 5 people in the Avengers at present, and there are 3 ordinary people, namely Hawkeye, Black Widow and Ant-Man. Suke was a little speechless. The Avengers only had so many people. Wasn't that a bit too shabby? Hello, Mr. Suk, nice to meet you. My name is Daisy Johnston, and I'm a trainee agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Nick Fury asked me to come to you. No matter what you need, you can tell me to do it. Just when Suk was feeling a little annoyed, a crisp voice suddenly rang out from behind him. Daisy Johnston, Shockwave. Suk was slightly startled, and then quickly turned around to look over. In an instant, a beautiful girl with long black hair and a Chinese-American appearance suddenly appeared in his sight. It's really Quake. Suke was a little surprised. Shockwave was originally named Daisy Johnson. She was just a human, but after being stimulated by the Tirungan crystal, she became an inhuman with the ability to emit shockwaves. Later, she was trained by S.H.I.E.L.D. and became Nick Fury's right-hand man. She has a level 10 security clearance and is the only agent with this clearance in the comics besides Nick Fury and Black Widow. In addition, she is Nick Fury's most trusted confidant agent, the leader of the Secret Warriors, and the former director of S.H.I.E.L.D. It is worth mentioning that she once tried to join the Avengers, but was rejected for some reason. Staring at Daisy in front of him, Suke just wanted to laugh at this moment, thinking that this is still what he wants. Just when he said that there are not enough people, isn't there someone delivering it to the door? With Shockwave's ability, she is absolutely qualified to join the Avengers. Thinking of this, Suke looked at Daisy in front of him with a smile and said, "Your name is Daisy, right? Nice to meet you, Daisy. I now invite you to join the Avengers. I wonder if you are willing." At this time, Nick Fury happened to come to Suk for something. When he heard this, Nick Fury's feet suddenly slipped and he almost fell to his death. Director. What's wrong with you? Seeing this, Daisy quickly squatted down and helped Nick Fury up. It's okay, no problem. Nick Fury got up and waved his hands. Then he looked at Suke speechlessly and said, "Mr. Suke, please stop joking. She is just a child, and she is just an intern agent who has just come here for internship. She has no ability. How can you let her join the Avengers?" What? Suke was also stunned when he heard this. This seems a bit wrong. But then, He suddenly understood. Could it be that she hasn't obtained her own superpowers yet? If you think about it carefully, Daisy seems to have gained her superpowers after the New York War. Now she is just an ordinary person. A trainee agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Then, Daisy's words also confirmed Soo-Kei's thoughts. Mr. Sook, please stop joking. I am just an ordinary person, and an intern agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., not even an official agent. How can I be qualified to join the Avengers? Daisy said with a red face. Obviously, she thought Sook was joking. But it was obvious that Sook was not joking. He wanted to expand the Avengers team, and Daisy was the best choice at the moment. Originally, the mutants could also become the Avengers, but Sook knew in his heart that Nick Fury did not trust the mutants at all, and the mutants did not trust S.H.I.E.L.D., and it was impossible for them to cooperate sincerely, so he would not consider the mutants for the time being. Spider-Man is also a good candidate, but considering that he is too young, just a child, he was temporarily excluded. In this way, the appearance of Daisy is even more important. After all, the power of Shockwave is still worthy of recognition. Thinking of this, Sook immediately shook his head, then looked at Daisy and said, "No, you are not an ordinary person, you are not even a complete human being, you have half of the genes of aliens in your body." What? As soon as these words came out, Nick Fury and Daisy were both stunned. If someone else said this, Nick Fury would definitely not take it seriously and just treat it as a joke, but if it was Sook who said it, then he would believe it without a doubt. Because Sook never jokes. What is going on? You said she has alien genes in her body, is this possible? We have all her files from birth to now, as well as her blood and medical examination reports, which all show that she is a human being. Although he believed Sook's words in his heart, Nick Fury still expressed his doubts. Daisy also said nervously, "Mr. Sook, I think you must be mistaken. I am really just a human being. My mother is a Chinese and my father is an American. It is impossible for me to be." "Nothing is impossible. Your father is a human, but your mother is not. She is an inhuman. Inhumans are humans similar to mutants created by the Kree using their own genes for thousands of years on Earth. However, unlike mutants, Inhumans need to come into contact with something called the Tirungan crystal to awaken their superpowers. Before coming into contact with the Tirungan crystal, Inhumans are almost the same as humans." Before Daisy finished speaking, Sook suddenly interrupted him. At this moment, Nick Fury and Daisy were completely shocked. When he was surprised that Daisy beside him was an Inhuman, Nick Fury had a headache again. A group of mutants had already turned the world upside down, and now an Inhuman who was almost the same as a mutant appeared. This was simply fatal. After shaking his head helplessly at first, Nick Fury said, "From what you said, it seems that you can help Daisy gain superpowers." "That's right. That's why I want her to join the Avengers. As a powerful Inhuman, she is fully qualified," Soo-Kei said, taking the obelisk out of the system space and placing it on the table. "This is Obelisk, Hydra's secret weapon." Nick Fury recognized it at a glance. Firstly, it was recorded in the files of S.H.I.E.L.D., and secondly, they found research materials on it when they searched the Hydra base. However, they did not find it at that time. Obviously, it was taken away by Sook. Staring at the obelisk on the table, Daisy seemed to be guided by something, and her hand reached out to the obelisk involuntarily. "Be careful." Nick Fury pulled Daisy aside and said carefully, "I have seen this thing in Hydra's research materials. So far, everyone who has touched this thing has died. You." At this point, Nick Fury was stunned again, because Soo-Kei had just taken this thing in his hand, but he was fine. Daisy ignored Nick Fury and returned to the table, then stared at the obelisk on the table and said, "I feel it. It's calling me." Soo-Kei smiled slightly, picked up the obelisk, and then gently broke off a corner, revealing a Tyran root crystal inside. "Daisy, I'm going to give you the power of the Inhumans now, are you ready?" "Ready," Daisy said excitedly with her eyes flashing. Then, Soo-Kei broke the Tirungan crystal in front of Daisy. In an instant, a puff of smoke came out of the Tirungan crystal and quickly wrapped around Daisy. In just a moment, Daisy's whole body was covered with a black stone-like substance. At this time, Nick Fury, knowing that he could not stop this, had already hidden outside and was observing all this through the glass window. "I hope you were right. Looking at Sook through the glass, Nick Fury murmured, because if Sook said something wrong, then Daisy would be dead. Although Daisy has not been in S.H.I.E.L.D. for a long time, she is very smart. Nick Fury thinks highly of her and even thought of training her to be the next director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course, this is on the premise that he is still alive. Then, not long after, Daisy, who had turned into a stone, suddenly trembled. Then, with large pieces of black material falling off, Daisy's face finally appeared again. She was still alive. Seeing this, Nick Fury finally breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time he was surprised. You know, in all the records of Hydra, there seems to be no record of a test subject surviving. Is it really because she is a human with alien genes? Nick Fury shook his head and walked in. At the same time, inside the house, Sook smiled knowingly as he looked at Daisy emerging from the cocoon in front of him. Shockwave was finally born. I feel it, there is some power inside me. When she opened her eyes again, Daisy suddenly became a little different. She looked at her hands with an excited look on her face. Don't get excited, kid. We don't know what your abilities are yet, so don't get excited. Seeing this, Nick Fury hurriedly said, Daisy's superpowers must be a good thing for S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, Daisy is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury doesn't know Daisy's abilities, but Sook knows it very well. With a slight smile, Sook said, Daisy, your ability should be vibration wave. You can emit powerful vibration wave power from your hands. You try it. Yes, Mr. Sook. Hearing this, Daisy nodded to Sook excitedly. You know, half an hour ago, she was just a trainee agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., doing the work of sorting documents every day, but who could have thought? Now she has become an alien with superpowers. She may even become an Avenger. And all this was given by Sook. At this moment, in Daisy's eyes, Sook is simply a godlike existence. Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., has become a redundant person at this time, but he didn't care. He quickly found a few cups and placed them on the table not far away, ready to let Daisy test her ability. After calming down her excitement, Daisy stretched out her right hand and controlled the power in her body. Buzz buzz buzz. With a roar, an invisible shock wave suddenly shot out from Daisy's right hand, and then directly hit the cups that Nick Fury had placed before, not only smashing the cups into pieces, but even blowing up the table under the cups. This is my power. Daisy stopped and looked at her hands with excitement. Although Nick Fury didn't say anything, his face was also full of joy. S.H.I.E.L.D. finally has its own super-powered agent. Before, when Suke said that Daisy could join the Avengers, Nick Fury thought it was a joke, but now he realized that it was not a joke, Daisy could become an Avenger. But of course, before that, she had to undergo brutal training and master her own power. Okay Daisy, from today on, you put down all the work in your hands and don't have to do anything except practice and familiarize yourself with your abilities. You are no longer a trainee agent. I now officially appoint you as a formal agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. As for whether you can join the Avengers, it depends on whether you can fully master your abilities. Nick Fury looked at Daisy and said very seriously. Yes, Daisy was almost going crazy with joy when she heard this. For her, happiness came too suddenly. Okay, go find Coulson, he will arrange everything for you. Nick Fury said again. Nodding first, Daisy came to Sook again, and then said with a blush on her face, Mr. Sook, thank you very much for your help. They said you were a bad guy before, but I know you are definitely not a bad guy. You are a hero, thank you. After saying this, Daisy left. Hee. Nick Fury smiled awkwardly and said, I don't know what's going on. Okay, tell me what you want to talk to me about. If nothing else, I'll leave first. Suke waved his hand and said indifferently. Hero or villain, he didn't care about the outside world's evaluation of him. Don't. It's indeed an urgent matter, because we always heard you mention Hulk before, so we started looking for him again, and we didn't expect that we really found him. Nick Fury didn't dare to talk nonsense and got to the point directly. Hulk. Sook became interested again and asked, where is he now? In a small town in Brazil, he seems to have lived there for a long time. Nick Fury said again, very good, I just happen to have nothing to do right now, so I'll go talk to him first. Suke said, and opened another space channel. At the other end, it was the place Nick Fury mentioned. etc. Seeing this, Nick Fury hurriedly shouted, "Mr. Sook, Hulk is different from ordinary people. He is uncontrollable. Do you really think he will join the Avengers? That's just for you. For me, nothing is uncontrollable." After saying this lightly, Sook stepped directly into the space channel. Looking at Sook's leaving figure, Nick Fury felt a headache, but then he suddenly thought that if Sook could really control Hulk and let Hulk join the Avengers, then this would definitely be a good thing for the Earth. On the other side, when Sook stepped out of the space channel, he arrived at a small town in Brazil. "Get out of the way. The army is on a mission. Get out of the way." Suddenly, there was a roar of a car not far away, followed by a shout. Suke looked up and saw a number of American armored vehicles coming over here. In the leading car, there sat a man who looked very familiar to him. General Ross. General Ross's original name was Thaddeus E. Ross, also known as General Ross, is one of Hulk's #1 enemies, a U.S. military officer and the father of Hulk's girlfriend Betty Ross. He has devoted his life to capturing Bruce Banner, the Hulk, but has repeatedly failed for various reasons. In order to defeat the Hulk, General Ross agreed to let two supervillains, MODOK and the Head, use gamma energy to transform himself into a red giant. Unlike the Hulk, the red giant can still maintain a clear mind and thinking after the transformation. During this period, he killed the Hulk's old enemy Abomination. Later, he turned over a new leaf and was recruited by Captain America to join the Avengers. He became a teammate with his old rival, the Hulk, and fought side by side. However, according to the current situation, General Ross is just an ordinary person. When Sook saw General Ross, he knew that he had come to the right place this time. The Hulk must be here. According to the information provided by Nick Fury before, Sook soon found where Hulk lived. Boom boom boom. Although Hulk is a big guy with a bad temper, his human form, Bruce Banner, is a famous scientist. Since he came with the intention of having a chat, Sook felt that he still had to be polite. But of course, if Hulk was not polite, then he would not be polite either. "Who is it?" Along with the knock on the door, a somewhat alert male voice sounded from the room. "Bruce Banner, I need to talk to you." "You've got the wrong person," the man in the room said in a very stiff tone. "I'm not Bruce Banner, and I don't know this person." "Come on, Banner, I just came here to talk, there's no need for you to be on guard against me." As he spoke, Suke opened another space passage leading to the house. He stepped in and appeared in front of Bruce Banner. What's going on? How did you do that? And, who are you?" Banner asked in surprise inside the house. Suke casually found a stool and sat down. Then he said, "You have too many questions, but I'll answer your last question first. My name is Suke, and I'm from Titan, Saturn. To put it simply, I'm an alien." Bruce Banner is a very smart scientist. It is completely unnecessary to lie to him. In addition, Suke is ready to be honest with Banner this time, so he directly told his identity. "Saturn, Titan, are you an alien?" Banner was a little surprised at first, then he seemed to remember something, and then he smiled helplessly. "Why? Are even aliens interested in Hulk now? Don't get me wrong, although I am an alien, my planet has been destroyed long ago. To me, the Earth is my home, and the purpose of my coming to you this time is to protect the Earth. To make a long story short, there is an Asgardian named Loki who is going to invade the Earth with an alien army, and I need your help." Suke went straight to the point. Although he was a little surprised at what Suke said, Banner shook his head gently and said, "Although I don't know whether what you said is true or not, I'm sorry, I can't promise you, because the Hulk is uncontrollable, he is just a monster and can't be a hero. For so many years, I have been trying not to let him appear, so there is such peace here. Please forgive my refusal." Banner was stunned when he was halfway through his words, because he found that at this moment, Suke didn't seem to listen to him, but looked out through the window. What was going on? Curious, Banner also moved over. With just one glance, his pupils suddenly shrank, because he saw General Ross. This human who had been madly chasing him. "Sorry, I should go, I don't want to hurt anyone," Banner said anxiously, while putting the backpack on the table on his back, and then prepared to open the door and leave. But just as he was about to open the door, a light and orderly sound of footsteps suddenly came from outside. "Oh no, there's no escape anymore. I don't want to kill anyone. Hulk, Don't come out. With a tense heart, Banner's heartbeat accelerated, his pupils dilated, and a green light flashed in his eyes. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a space passage suddenly appeared in front of him. On the other side of the passage, there was a desert. Sook walked to Bruce and said slowly, Banner, now you have two choices, either follow me or become the Hulk and kill everyone, your choice. After saying this, Sook stepped directly into the space passage. After a short silence, Banner followed. Boom. Just as Sook and Banner left the house, the door of the house was suddenly blown apart, and then a group of soldiers carrying heavy weapons rushed in. General, he has escaped. Downstairs, hearing the report from upstairs, General Ross's face suddenly became extremely angry again. Find him for me. He can't go far. But in fact, Sook and Banner have appeared in a desert in Africa. Thank you for saving me. Banner gradually calmed down his nervous mood and said with gratitude, you know, if it wasn't for Sook, Hulk would definitely come out. But after hearing this, Sook just shook his head gently, and then said, don't thank me, I brought you here for a purpose. I need Hulk. Banner, please let Hulk out. What? After hearing this, Banner's face immediately became a little ugly. You are crazy. Don't let the Hulk out, he will destroy everything, he may even kill you. No. Sook stretched out a finger and shook it, saying, you are wrong. First, there are no people or buildings within a radius of 500 miles. Hulk can't destroy anything. Second, Hulk can never kill me. He can't even hurt me. Please let him out, or I might find another way to let him out. Sook said, and a wicked smile suddenly flashed across his mouth. Sensing the sudden hostility from Sook, Banner's heartbeat accelerated again, and then the green light that flashed before appeared in his eyes again. Why do you do this? Banner's body began to swell, his skin gradually turned green, and even his voice changed. I said before, I need Hulk's help. Sook said calmly as he looked at Banner who was transforming in front of him. I told you, Hulk won't help anyone, he's just a monster, no one can control him. And you, release this monster, you will die. Before he finished speaking, Banner had disappeared, replaced by a green hunk with an angry face and only wearing a pair of shorts. Hulk. Staring at the Hulk in front of him, Sook suddenly laughed, and simply moved his fingers. He then said to the Hulk not far away, you say Hulk is a monster, that's because you haven't met me. Ah. With a roar, Hulk rushed directly towards Sook. Well done. Sook smiled in his heart and ran over quickly. Boom. The moment the two collided, a powerful shock wave was instantly generated. The powerful force blew Hulk away, but Sook was safe and sound. Sure enough, even Hulk is not a match for Titan. Hulk is a powerful and uncontrollable guy, but this is not absolute. As long as he can feel the complete power suppression, even if he is Hulk, he will surrender. The source of Hulk's power is anger, but if he is suppressed by absolute power, he can't be angry. Sook has not forgotten that his brother Thanos once did this. And he is no worse than Thanos. He wants to beat Hulk. Hulk. Another roar, the Hulk who was knocked away before rushed over again. Sook had competed with Red Tank before. Although Red Tank was also a strong big guy, he was still a little worse than Hulk. So Sook still had some expectations for Hulk. That was why he was not going to use the Space Gem and other energy attacks. He wanted to defeat Hulk directly with his fists. Bang! A punch hit Hulk's chin. Hulk's head was instantly deformed, and blood was flowing from the corners of his mouth. After staggering back a step, he spat out a tooth. This made him even more angry. How? But before he could shout out his iconic slogan again, Sook punched him again. This time, he was directly knocked into the sky. The next second, Sook suddenly appeared in the sky again and punched him hard in the stomach. In just a few minutes, this arrogant big guy was beaten by Sook and could no longer stand up. Hulk. Tired. Hulk. Do not fight. After saying this intermittently, Hulk slowly closed his eyes. Then, his body began to shrink rapidly, and then turned into Banner's appearance. Sook was somewhat helpless, because Hulk was much weaker than he thought. He didn't use any other power at all, but relied on his own strength to beat Hulk in just a few minutes. This made him feel very boring. With his current strength, even a single fight with the complete version of the Avengers would be a piece of cake. It seems that except for DC's Superman and Sentry, those bug-level heroes, he should have no rivals on Earth. What's wrong with me? How are you still alive? Slowly opening his eyes, Banner saw Sook not far away. This made him feel a little unbelievable. It was surprising that someone could remain unscathed under the attack of Hulk. Sook found it a little funny and said, Banner, it seems that Hulk did not share memories with you, otherwise you would not ask this. To put it simply, I was a little disappointed with Hulk's strength. I had high expectations for him, but I didn't expect him to be defeated by just a few punches from me. Banner looked at Suke in astonishment, unable to accept such a fact. But soon, he thought of a way to verify it. Hulk, come out. Banner clenched his fists and shouted, completely giving up the control in his heart. Green veins began to appear on his body, but soon dissipated. Banner was shocked again. You know, if it was in the past, once he gave up the control in his heart, Hulk would definitely come out immediately, but now it is obvious that Hulk is unwilling to come out. Could it be that what he said before was true? When he looked at Sook again, Banner's face was already filled with deep awe. How powerful is he to be able to beat Hulk so hard that he dared not come out? And this is definitely great news for him. He can finally stop hurting other people. Slowly walking to Sook, Banner said with gratitude, Thank you, Sook, thank you for helping me control the Hulk. You're welcome. Sook waved his hand and said, I just want Hulk to be more obedient. As for controlling him, that's your business, Banner. Hulk can become a hero as long as you can control him. Why do you believe in Hulk so much? Do you believe that he will become a hero? Banner looked at Sook in confusion. Sook shook his head and said, I don't believe in Hulk. Hulk is just a pure power. I believe in the person who can control the power of Hulk. To put it simply, that is you. Banner, aren't you tired of the life of always running away? Hulk can be a hero, and so can you. Listening to Sook's words, Banner's heart was really excited at the moment. Since the first appearance of Hulk, people have always regarded him and Hulk as a simple monster, and no one has ever believed in him, but now Sook said such words to him. He thinks Hulk and himself can become a hero. After a brief silence, Banner finally nodded and said, Okay. I agree to go with you, but I have a small request. Speak, Suke said. If Hulk appears again in a rampaging state, please knock me out like you did just now. Banner said seriously. No problem. Suke smiled. Soon, a space passage suddenly appeared in the SHIELD command room, and then Sook came out with Banner. Oh my god. Oh, God. Accompany him. The moment he appeared, the entire SHIELD was in chaos again. Everyone was stunned by Banner besides Sook, because everyone knew what kind of monster was bred in Banner's body. Hee. Banner held up his pants with one hand and said awkwardly, Excuse me, can you help me find a set of clothes? Then, Nick Fury and Coulson suddenly appeared, looking confused. Director, this. Coulson swallowed his saliva, not knowing what to say. However, at this time, Nick Fury was also completely shocked. Although he knew that Sook had gone to find Hulk, he never thought that Sook would actually bring Hulk, Banner, directly to SHIELD. Isn't this fatal? Nick Fury seemed to have 1,000 horses galloping through his heart at this moment. As the director of SHIELD, he quickly recovered. Hello, Dr. Banner, I am Nick Fury, the director of SHIELD, nice to meet you. Walking up to Banner, Nick Fury extended his hand in a friendly manner. Hello. Banner shook his hand politely. Coulson dispersed everyone else around. In this case, the fewer people here, the better. Both Sook and Hulk are difficult to control, but Sook is different from Hulk. Although he has great power, Sook is self-aware. He knows clearly what he is doing, but Hulk is different. This guy has no self-awareness at all. No one can control him, and he may go crazy at any time. From the current situation, Hulk is much more dangerous than Sook. Although he is still Bruce Banner now, who knows when he will transform. As if he had sensed Nick Fury's worry, Banner smiled and said, Please don't worry. Sook had a fight with Hulk before, and he defeated Hulk easily. Hulk seems to be a little afraid of him, so he won't show up in the short term. As soon as these words came out, Nick Fury and Coulson were confused again, and then they looked at Sook, as if they wanted to confirm. After Sook nodded, the two of them were speechless again. Hulk was beaten so hard that he dared not come out. What kind of power is this? But at this moment, Suke didn't care what they thought in their hearts, and directly said to Nick Fury, "Nick, Banner will live here from today. Please take good care of him and meet all his needs. Of course, the most important thing is that he is my guest, so I don't want him to be locked up as a monster. You know what I mean, right?" "Understand. Don't worry, Dr. Banner is a famous physicist. I have always admired him. When he comes here, he is a guest of S.H.I.E.L.D. We will take good care of him," Nick Fury said with a smile. As long as Banner does not turn into the Hulk, he is just a physicist, which is not dangerous for S.H.I.E.L.D. "Very good, Banner, then you can stay here for the time being. If you need anything, just tell Nick Fury directly. I'm leaving first. Thank you for your trust in me," Banner said gratefully. With a slight smile, Suke opened another space channel and went. Then, he instantly appeared in his home, and it was already dark at this moment. "You're back. Why are you back so late today?" Emma said as she helped Suke take off his coat. "I went to do 2 important things today, so I came back late," Suke said with a smile. Emma didn't ask much after hearing this. Anyway, she only cared about Suke, and other people's affairs were not important to him. After dinner, Suke came to the roof alone, and then began to let the system look for Loki's trace. He didn't forget that Loki was carrying a mind gem, which was also what he wanted to get. But what he didn't expect was that the omnipotent system couldn't find Loki's trace. "What's going on? Is there anything in this world that you can't do?" Suke asked in his heart with some curiosity. The Infinity Stones are the most powerful force in the universe. Their existence will affect the positioning of the system. Because Loki carries the Mind Stone, the system cannot locate him, but what is certain is that Loki is not on Earth at the moment. The system replied, "Not on Earth. Then where can this guy go?" Suke frowned and thought, but then he was suddenly relieved. "You know, Loki is not an ordinary villain, but a villain from the universe. No matter where he appears, it makes sense. Forget it, don't think about it. Anyway, I will meet this guy sooner or later." Thinking of this, Suke no longer considered this matter, but just when Suke was about to leave, something strange happened. The surrounding environment suddenly changed at this moment and became extremely distorted. Houses and trees began to overlap, and the moon began to deform a little. Only in just a moment, Suke had come to a strange world. This was a strange world, full of reflective, mirror-like things, just like a mirror world. In an instant, Suke knew who did this. It seemed that no one could do such a thing except the Ancient One. Then, looking back, a bald woman appeared in front of Suke. It was the Ancient One. The Ancient One's real name was Yao. She was the supreme sorcerer on Earth and the master of Doctor Strange. She was the guardian of the Earth, always monitoring anything that could threaten the Earth. She was a powerful magician. A wizard, usually reading spells to trigger her magic. She can convert magical energy into invisibility, energy projection, penetration of objects, longevity, illusion, flight, hypnosis, protective shield, alchemy, telekinesis, instant movement, cross-space transmission, teleconference and other superpowers. She also has a strong astral projection ability, which can separate her spiritual body from the physical body. In this state, she is invisible and untouchable, does not need to breathe, eat or sleep, and is not affected by the laws of physics. At the same time, she can retain all his conscious thoughts. In addition, she also has an extremely powerful psychic ability, she can communicate with more than 10 targets through brainwaves at the same time. She can also read the thoughts of any human or implant memories. The telepathic ability of the Ancient One is not affected by distance. Basically, the entire Earth is within her range of ability. To put it simply, she is a very powerful guy. A person that even Thanos is wary of. With Sook's current strength, if he encounters a power-type enemy, he will definitely defeat the opponent, but when he encounters a magician like the Ancient One, he really has no confidence in his heart, because he is completely confused about things like the Rubik's Cube. But of course, his intuition tells him that the Ancient One should not come to fight him. Then, Ji Yuyi finally spoke. "Titan, what is your purpose in coming to Earth? This is a very peaceful place. You shouldn't be here," Ji Yuyi said calmly to Suke. Suke smiled slightly. "You are the supreme sorcerer on Earth, right? What's your name?" "I think it's Ancient One, right?" Suke asked knowingly. "Does it matter?" The Ancient One still said calmly, "You should leave here, you don't belong here, your existence will only bring disaster to the Earth." "What the hell, do you have the final say on whether I am on Earth or not?" Suke sneered in his heart, and at the same time, he was quickly thinking about how to defeat the Ancient One. The only thing he can be sure of now is that the Ancient One can never kill him, because his body is basically indestructible. Even if it is destroyed, it can be recondensed with thoughts, but similarly, Suke can't kill the Ancient One, because the Ancient One has the Time Stone and can reverse time at will. However, if Ancient One plans to use the same trick that Doctor Strange used on Dormammu on himself, that would be a bit disgusting. Besides, according to the current plot, Ancient One seems to be about to die, and there is really no need for him to fight with 1,000 dying people. Thinking like this, Suke's mood gradually calmed down, and then he said lightly, "It's my freedom to go wherever I want, you should have no right to interfere, right? Besides, my planet has been destroyed, and the Earth is my second home to me. I don't need to do anything bad to the Earth. I just want to live here, that's all." Realizing that Suke was not lying, and that he had been preparing to fight against Loki and his alien army these days, Ji knew in his heart that Suke should not be a threat to the Earth. But when he thought of Suke's brother, Ji face sank again. "But your brother, stop it." Before Ancient One could finish his words, Suke immediately made a stop gesture, and then said helplessly, "Please, Thanos is Thanos, I am me, we are completely different, okay? Does having a tyrant brother mean that I am that kind of person?" Ancient One was silent again, because he suddenly thought of his two apprentices. "Aren't they also one good and one evil? I came to you this time just to confirm certain things with you. Now that it has been confirmed, it is time for me to leave. But before I leave, I still want to warn you not to do anything that threatens the Earth, otherwise I will come to you again." The Ancient One said slowly, "It doesn't matter, you'll be there soon anyway." Suk thought indifferently. Then, he broke the mirror world with his hands and left. But when he left, the Ancient One did not forget to look at Suk again. As the Supreme Sorcerer on Earth and the owner of time, the Ancient One has survived for countless years and has always been in control of the future of the entire Earth. But the arrival of Suk made the Ancient One lose control of the future. Because of his existence, the future of the Earth has become unknown, and even he can't figure it out. To put it simply, Suk is like a time paradox. He seems not to have appeared on Earth, but he came to Earth. If Suk is just an ordinary existence, then for the sake of the Earth, the Ancient One will not hesitate to erase Suk's existence, but Suk is a Titan, and a Titan whose abilities are not inferior to his brother Thanos. The Ancient One is not sure to kill Suk, and is unwilling to take such a risk. In addition, Dormammu seems to be a little stupid and eager to move recently, so there is no need for her to fight Suk. Then, the mirror world disappeared, the Ancient One left completely, and Suk returned to the roof of his home. Magician, it's a real headache. Suke shook his head and thought. But of course, Suke didn't take the warning from Ji seriously. Anyway, according to the current timeline, Ji should be dead soon, so who cares? After a comfortable hot bath and some intimate time with Emma, Suke fell asleep. The next morning, when Suke was still sleeping, the doorbell rang again. Ding dong. Emma opened the door, only to find an old man she didn't know standing at the door with a dull expression. "Hello, who are you looking for?" Emma asked with a smile. Since being with Suke, Emma rarely used telepathy to explore other people's memories and thoughts except when necessary, because she just wanted to be the little woman beside Suke and didn't want to be the White Queen again. If someone didn't know him before, they would definitely think she was just an ordinary woman. But when the old man spoke, Emma's face suddenly froze. "Hello, Emma, I have to say, you really disappoint me," the old man said with a grin. Although his appearance and tone were different from the man Emma had met before, the expression on the old man's face made Emma guess who was controlling this old man to talk to her. "Loki, the evil god Loki, it's you," Emma gritted her teeth and said, her eyes were about to burst into fire. "Yes, it's me. You still remember me, but it seems that you have forgotten the deal between us." In the distant starry sky, on an unknown planet, Loki was saying with a wicked smile, and his every move was fully displayed through the old man. "You." Emma was so angry that he was shaking. But at this moment, a pair of warm hands suddenly rested on his shoulders. Looking back, who else could it be but Suk, he is. Needless to say, I know everything. Be good and go in quickly. Leave the things here to me. Before Emma could finish her words, Suke suddenly interrupted her and kissed Emma gently on the forehead. Although Emma was angry, she finally turned around and walked into the house after hearing this. Then, only Suke and the old man controlled by Loki were left at the door. It must be said that Loki's arrival was really beyond Suk's expectations. You know, he was still thinking about looking for Loki last night, but he didn't expect that this guy would come to his door this morning. Although he was borrowing someone else's body. First, he looked Suk up and down, and then Loki said with a playful look on his face, I really didn't expect that I could meet another Titan. It's really my honor. Suk smiled faintly and said, I am also very happy to see you. Why don't you tell me where you are now, and then I will go to you directly. How about we talk face to face? In view of what Loki did to Emma before, Suk didn't say to kill Loki, but at least beat this guy half to death. But after hearing this, Loki smiled cunningly, I have heard about you from Asgard. You have very powerful power, even as powerful as your brother Thanos. In this case, do you think I will let you find me? So what do you want to talk to me about? I'm very busy, stop talking nonsense. Suke is not a fool, he has already seen that Loki's purpose of coming this time is not for Emma, but for him. Come on, my plan was supposed to be perfect. I used the White Queen and Red Tank to start a war between mutants and humans, and then I could easily invade the Earth. But you interrupted my plan and forced me to seek his help. I thought it was foolproof, but who would have thought? There would be a Titan on Earth. To put it simply, I want to make a deal with you. Loki said slowly, his eyes still cunning. And there is no doubt that the he was talking about was naturally Suke's brother Thanos. As a supervillain with a high IQ, Loki has always been a perfect conspirator. Relying on his own conspiracy, Loki almost killed the Avengers. Suke didn't believe that Loki would sincerely make any deal with him, but he suddenly became interested in Loki's next words. Keep talking, I'm listening. Won't you invite me in? Loki smiled and said, this is not a good place to talk. No, Suke shook his head and said, the room has just been cleaned, you will dirty it. What a irony. With a nonchalant smile, Loki, who was far away on an unknown planet in the universe, suddenly snapped his fingers. Then, a faint blue halo suddenly appeared around Suk, enveloping Suk and the old man controlled by Loki. Well, now no one can hear what we say. Loki laughed. Stop talking nonsense, my patience is limited. Seeing that Loki had said so much nonsense but still hadn't gotten to the point, he was already a little impatient. Noticing this, Loki didn't waste any more words and said, the deal is simple. As long as you don't stop me from invading the Earth, I will help you kill Thanos, your brother. Suke was somewhat surprised when he heard this. He was surprised that Loki would actually propose such a deal. If I'm not mistaken, you and Thanos also have a deal, right? Suke was not in a hurry to answer Loki, but asked. That's right, the deal between us is very simple, I help him get the Space Stone, and he helps me get Earth and Asgard. Since he was going to make a deal with Suk, Loki did not hide the matter between him and Thanos. In that case, I am very curious, why do you still want to make a deal with me? Isn't this the deal you want? Why do you still want to help me kill Thanos? Suke said again, it's very simple, I don't believe in Thanos. That guy is a madman bewitched by death. As long as you agree to my request, I will give you both the Space Stone and the Mind Stone, and you will have the power to kill him. What do you think? When Loki mentioned death, a look of fear appeared on his face. If I just ignore Loki's invasion of the Earth, I can get 2 Infinity Stones. I have to say, this is really a good thing. However, Loki certainly didn't expect that the space gem in his hand was fake. And because of his understanding of Loki, Suke knew that even if he promised Loki, Loki would definitely not keep his promise. This guy has always been like this. Compared to your deal, I have a deal here. As long as you obediently hand over the 2 Infinity Stones in your hand to me, then I will mercifully spare your life. What do you think? 000 Suk said with a smile. Loki's face froze. Are you rejecting me? No, I just proposed a better deal. Think about it carefully, Loki. This is a matter of life and death for you. Suke said meaningfully. Hee, you will regret it, you absolutely will. Loki smiled with an ugly look on his face. Having said that, the two of them had completely broken down in their talks. Then, the old man standing in front of Suke suddenly fell down. It was obvious that Loki had left. Why didn't this guy come in person? Muttering helplessly, Suke casually opened a space channel leading to the hospital, and then threw the fainted old man to a hospital. Then, he turned and went into the house. As for what Loki said just now, he was naturally ignored by Suke, because it was obvious that Loki just wanted to use himself, but Suke was not a fool and would not be fooled by him at all. Anyway, he had to get the mind gem on Loki no matter what. Besides, if Suke really agreed to Loki, how would he explain it to Emma and Red Tank? You know, because of the previous mutant incident, Emma and Red Tank almost wanted to cut Loki into pieces, and Suke would not do such a thing that would make his woman uncomfortable. On the other side, on an unknown planet in the universe, Loki was thinking about something with a serious face. Suke guessed correctly, he really wanted to use Suke to achieve his own goals, but what he didn't expect was that Suke seemed to have seen through his plan and didn't fall for it at all. This would be a bit troublesome. If Suke insisted on intervening in this matter, then his plan would never succeed. After all, Titan is not something he can deal with. Unless, find another helper. Just when he thought of this, Loki suddenly laughed again, because he suddenly thought of a guy he found on Earth a long time ago. That was a terrifying guy, a guy who was strong enough to compete with the Titans. Although he was difficult to control, it was worth it to let Suke know the price of rejecting him. Thinking of this, Loki's mind moved again, and then, in an abandoned underground base far away in Russia, Loki's figure suddenly appeared here again. But of course, this was just one of his clones. Although it couldn't do anything big, it was enough to free one person. Gently walking to the hibernation chamber in front of him, Loki stretched out his hand to wipe off the dust on the hibernation chamber, and then, a very strong man with his eyes closed suddenly appeared in front of him. Sentinel, I will release you, but you must obey my orders and remember your enemy, Suke. Kill him. Loki said with a fierce smile. On the other hand, Suke still knew nothing about Loki's conspiracy. After enjoying 2 days of relatively peaceful life, on the third day, Suke received a call from Tony. Avengers, assemble. Tony suddenly shouted this sentence as soon as he picked up the phone, which made Suke speechless. I've been thinking of a slogan that would suit us, what do you think of this one? Tony asked. What does this have to do with me, Tony? Didn't I reject your invitation long ago? I won't join any organization. I can only help you. Also, don't say that again. It sounds weird. Suke said speechlessly. Okay, let's talk about whether to join the Avengers later. S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to have found Loki's whereabouts. Now we are all in S.H.I.E.L.D., and you are the only one missing. Come quickly. Tony said. The Battle of New York is finally about to begin. After hanging up the phone and instructing Emma again, Suke opened a space channel. With one step across, he instantly appeared in an office of S.H.I.E.L.D. At this moment, many people have gathered here. Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson, Black Widow, Banner, Thor, Ant-Man, Tony, and Daisy, who had just been allowed by Nick to join the Avengers. Seeing these people, Suke was very pleased. This is what the Avengers should look like. Mr. Suke. The moment Daisy saw Suke appear, she ran to his side with excitement, and then said, the director has agreed to let me join the Avengers, and Mr. Tony has also agreed. From now on, I am also an Avenger. After several days of intensive training, Daisy has mastered her abilities very well. Coupled with the special props that S.H.I.E.L.D. has given her that can enhance her vibration ability, the power she possesses is no longer to be underestimated by anyone. That's why Tony agreed to her. Very good, then the responsibility of protecting the Earth will be handed over to you in the future. Suke smiled at Daisy and said. Then, he greeted Tony Benetol and others, and then Suke found a place to sit down. Daisy was sitting far away, but after seeing Suke's position, she suddenly stood up, and then walked back to Suke with a red face and sat down. Tony saw this scene and felt funny in his heart. This guy is really popular with women. Cough cough. All the staff have arrived. After coughing twice, Nick Fury stood at the front and said, "First of all, on behalf of S.H.I.E.L.D., welcome everyone." Nick Fury suddenly stopped talking halfway because someone unexpectedly appeared at the door. "Captain America. Report. Soldier Rogers is here to report." Rogers, wearing his iconic outfit, said with determination. Although a little surprised, Nick Fury reacted immediately and said, "Captain, welcome to the Avengers, please take a seat." On the other side, Coulson, the #1 fan of Captain America, had already pulled out a stool for Rogers. Rogers didn't say anything and just walked over and sat down. Sook was not too surprised by Rogers' arrival, because he understood that Bucky was just an obsession in Rogers' heart. As long as Bucky died, Rogers' obsession would disappear. As the captain of the United States with the strongest sense of justice in the Marvel Universe, he would never watch the Earth fall into danger and do nothing. When Tony saw Rogers, he deliberately avoided his gaze. Similarly, Rogers didn't even look at Tony. However, considering what happened before, this situation is inevitable. At this moment, the personnel have finally gathered. Looking at all the people in front of him, Nick Fury is really confident at this moment. At this moment, no matter which blind guy wants to come to the Earth to cause trouble, he is sure to beat them back. But before that, he has to share the information in his hand. This morning, through radar monitoring, we finally found Loki's whereabouts and basically determined the name of Loki's army. They are composed of a group called Chitauri. Chitauri. Thor was somewhat surprised when he heard this, because as far as he knew, the Chitauri seemed to be part of Thanos' army. If so, then wasn't Loki helping Thanos to attack the Earth? He originally thought that Loki invaded the Earth just to avenge himself, but now it seems that the matter is much more serious than he thought. "Do you know about this matter?" Then Thor suddenly looked at Sook and asked. Sook knew that Thor was talking about the Chitauri army, so he nodded and indicated that he knew. Sure enough, this guy knew everything. Thor was a little speechless. But at this moment, an agent suddenly ran in from outside and said nervously, "Report. We found Loki's trace." "Where is it?" Nick Fury's face changed. He stood up suddenly and asked. "According to the location, it should be Stuttgart, Germany." "Very good." Hearing this, everyone was delighted, because in their opinion, as long as they could catch Loki before he summoned the army, then his plan to invade the Earth would definitely fail. "Let's go. Avengers." Tony waved his arm and walked out first, followed by Black Widow, Thor, Ant-Man and Rogers. Daisy was originally planning to go with them, but then she saw that Sook had no intention of leaving at all, so she asked curiously, "Mr. Sook, why don't you go?" "I won't go. I always feel that this matter is not that simple. You can go with them. Just treat it as exercise, but remember, don't be stubborn." Sook said slowly. "I know, thank you." Daisy said this with a smile, and then she left. For a moment, only Nick Fury, Coulson, Banner and Sook were left in the entire conference room. Banner has been performing very well recently and has no intention of transforming at all, which makes Nick Fury very pleased, but he is also a little disappointed. If only Hulk had such a good temper as Banner, then he would become one of the most powerful heroes on Earth. Tapping the table lightly with his fingers, Sook began to recall all the details about the Battle of New York. According to the original timeline, Loki should be in Stuttgart, Day Country, stealing an extremely rare metal iridium. Loki cannot master the energy of the space gem, so he can only rely on the power of Earth's technology. But thinking of the previous conversation, Sook always felt that this matter should not be that simple. Half an hour later, Nick Fury received a reply from Tony. Tony and the others have captured Loki and are on their way back now. Nick Fury said to Sook excitedly. However, hearing this, Sook frowned even deeper. In Nick Fury's view, as long as Loki is captured, no matter what Loki is planning, he will not be able to carry it out, which is definitely a good thing for the Earth. But obviously, Sook doesn't think so. According to the development of the original plot, Loki was deliberately captured by S.H.I.E.L.D., and then with the help of Hawkeye, he successfully destroyed S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarrier and even angered Banner, and then he escaped. His purpose was to destroy the Avengers, which were not very united to begin with. But then again, he had already made it clear that he would intervene in this matter. Would Loki really follow the previous script again? Sook didn't know, but just in case, he still said to Nick Fury, Nick, from now on, I need you to send a team to patrol around the aerospace carrier continuously to prevent sneak attacks. In addition, please temporarily transfer Dr. Banner to another place. I have a hunch that something big will happen here soon. Although Hulk was scared by Sook before and dared not come out, Loki is a magician. As long as he wants, it must be very easy to let Banner transform into Hulk, so Sook made such a decision. Banner and Nick Fury had no objection to Sook's decision. Soon, a helicopter began to patrol around the aerospace aircraft carrier, and Coulson arranged for Banner to leave temporarily. After doing all this, Sook's heart finally settled down. He wanted to see what tricks Loki could come up with. Soon, Tony and the others caught Loki back, but when they came back, everyone's faces were not very good. What happened? Sook asked Daisy curiously. He was fine before he left, why is he like this after he came back? Then, with Daisy's explanation, Sook finally understood what was going on. Because Loki is an Asgardian and a supervillain who wants to invade the Earth, when he first came on the scene, Tony directly used a very powerful weapon, but before the weapon was fired, he was hit from the sky by Thor's hammer because Thor was worried that Tony would kill Loki. When has Tony ever suffered such a loss? He fought with Thor at that time. The remaining Black Widow, Captain America, and Inhuman Daisy were no match for Loki and were almost killed by Loki. Although Thor and Tony finally stopped in the end and caught Loki together, everyone was furious. After hearing this, Sook was completely speechless. As expected, this is exactly like in the movie. These guys are not united at all. Next, Tony couldn't help it first. Bang! He slammed his palm on the table and said angrily, "Thor, why did you try to stop me just now?" Thor said, "Loki is my brother, I won't allow any of you to kill him. But it's obvious that your brother wanted to kill us. If Tony hadn't arrived in time, we would have died long ago." Black Widow said as she moved her sore wrist. "Everyone, it is right not to kill people, but this is based on the premise that we will not be killed. As far as the situation just now is concerned, Loki obviously wants to kill us." The one who spoke was Ant-Man. Among these people, he was the most seriously injured, with a broken arm. "I'm sorry, but even so, I still can't let you kill him," Thor still said stubbornly. As he said this, the whole conference room started to quarrel again. Sook was helpless when he heard it. A space channel opened and he instantly came to a place like a prison. At this moment, the person who appeared in front of him was none other than Loki. When Loki saw Sook for the first time, his unique evil smile suddenly appeared on his face. "We can finally talk face to face, powerful Titan, it's my honor." Loki bent down slightly, looked at Sook with an evil smile and said. Sook sneered and said, "Okay, Loki, no more polite words, I came here for nothing else but the mind gem in your hand, be quick and give it to me." When Loki heard this, he shrugged helplessly and said, "As you can see, the mind gem and the space gem are not in my hands now, but if you can reconsider the previous deal, then I will still give you the space gem and the mind gem." "Deal." Sook found it funny and said, "Do you think you are still qualified to talk about a deal with me now?" Loki was not angry, but suddenly sat down cross-legged, and then smiled and said, "It's not the last step yet, and it's still uncertain who will win and who will lose." At this moment, Sook really wanted to strangle Loki to death, but considering that this guy was the only one in front of him who knew the whereabouts of the Mind Stone, he finally held back. Pulling a stool casually and sitting down, Sook slowly said, "If I guess correctly, you were caught here by them on purpose, right? Then you want to stimulate Banner to transform into Hulk through Hawkeye's attack, and then make a big fuss in S.H.I.E.L.D., so that S.H.I.E.L.D. will have no time to take care of you, right?" Loki's face froze at first, and then he clapped his hands helplessly and said, "Smart. You were really smart. You actually knew the plan. This is really beyond my expectation. Hawkeye, I just received a message from Nick Fury that they have successfully captured Hawkeye. As for Banner, I have also sent him to a safe place. I am very curious, what are you going to do next?" Sook said to Loki with a playful look on his face. Unlike the Loki in the original timeline, the current Loki is more cunning and more elusive. Sook always feels that he should have some other plans. Sure enough, when Loki heard this, he laughed instead of getting angry. He said, "What you said is just plan A. When I knew that a Titan was going to intervene in this matter, I had already prepared Plan B, and my Plan B was for you. Plan B? What plan? Suk asked with a frown. Loki was silent at first, just closed his eyes and felt it, but then he suddenly opened his eyes and grinned. You will know soon, because he is coming. At the same time, a huge explosion suddenly occurred in an underground base in Russia, and then a man in a yellow battle suit suddenly soared into the sky and flew towards New York. He was very fast, and S.H.I.E.L.D. soon noticed his presence. Director, according to the radar, an unidentified object is coming towards us at supersonic speed from the direction of Russia, and the estimated arrival time is 3 minutes. Soon, Nick Fury received a report about the Sentinel. What is this? A missile, Nick Fury said in surprise, but then he shook his head. Since knowing the news that Loki was going to invade the Earth, all countries have signed a peace agreement, and it is impossible to go to war. If it is not a missile, then what is it? Okay, no matter what it is, we'll know when I knock it down. Tony looked at Thor with disdain and flew out. Humph, this is mine. Thor shouted unconvinced, and flew out. But soon, Nick Fury received a shocking message. Report, Iron Man Tony Stark and Thor have been defeated and are currently missing. The speed of the unidentified object has changed from supersonic to superluminal and is heading towards us. There is still 1 minute left before the impact. What? When hearing this, not only Nick Fury was shocked and speechless, but even Black Widow and the others were the same. In just 1 minute, the other party defeated Thor and Tony. Is this possible? This is simply incredible. In this situation, I'm afraid everyone will die. What happened? Suddenly at this moment, Suk appeared in front of everyone. Nick Fury seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw, rushed to Suk and said anxiously, something bad has happened. Our radar just detected that an unknown object is heading towards us from the direction of Russia. Tony and Thor wanted to stop him, but they were defeated in an instant. Now it is less than half a minute before that thing hits us. Defeated. Thor and Tony in an instant. Suk was a little surprised. Is there such an awesome existence on Earth? But then, he suddenly remembered what Loki had said before. Needless to say, this must be Loki's doing. Leave it to me. Suke said lightly, and he opened a space channel directly. The next second, he suddenly appeared in the sky tens of thousands of meters high. It was at this time that he saw a yellow figure rushing towards him quickly not far away. The iconic costume made Suke shout out his name at once. Sentinel. The Sentinel's real name is Robert Reynolds. He was originally a drug addict. He broke into a professor's laboratory to get drugs and accidentally drank the secret formula invented by the professor. He gained powerful abilities, which were energy from another universe, but this energy also created a negative personality in Robert's body, that is, nothingness. In order to protect humans from the threat of nothingness, Robert had to delete all the memories related to him, including himself. He has the power of millions of star explosions in his body and is a super powerful existence with unknown strength. And there is no doubt that the Sentinel in front of him is Loki's Plan B. Although Loki had told Suk before that he had prepared a Plan B for Suk, Suk never thought that this so-called plan would be the Sentinel. Although he was somewhat surprised by the appearance of the Sentinel, Suk reacted instantly and then rushed towards the Sentinel. With the current strength and speed of the Sentinel, if he were to hit the helicarrier, then S.H.I.E.L.D. would be annihilated, and so would the Avengers. Suk could not let the Sentinel hit the helicarrier. Boom! The moment the two collided, an incredibly powerful shock wave erupted. The power of the shock wave even affected the aerospace mothership dozens of miles away. The aerospace mothership shook, shocking everyone. Coulson, go watch Loki, don't let him escape, there shouldn't be any problem with Suk there, I believe in his strength. Nick Fury ordered Coulson. Understood. After answering, Coulson quickly ran to the place where Loki was imprisoned. At the same time, Suk was also surprised by the power of the Sentinel. After a brief fight just now, he had felt that the Sentinel was almost as powerful as him. But after being surprised, Suke was excited again. Because he could finally have a good fight. As a being who could stand shoulder to shoulder with Superman, Sentinel was indeed qualified to be his opponent. Although he seemed to be controlled by Loki, it was also because of this that this guy's strength was not restricted by himself. Then, Sentinel rushed over again. Come at the right time. Suke smiled and flew over quickly. Through the window, Nick Fury and the others only saw bursts of explosions in the air not far away from them. The huge power shattered all the white clouds in the sky, and even shook the entire shield to the point of collapse, which shocked everyone. If Sook hadn't gone to fight the Sentinel, I'm afraid they and the aerospace carrier would have been destroyed by the Sentinel long ago. Suddenly, at this moment, the door was pushed open, and then an agent shouted anxiously, "Chief, it's bad, Loki escaped, Agent Coulson. He's dying." What? Hearing this, Nick Fury felt his heart sink and he hurried over. After fighting with the Sentinel in the air, Suke suddenly discovered something that surprised him. He seemed to be getting stronger and stronger in the process of fighting with the Sentinel. Originally, his strength was equal to that of the Sentinel, but after just a few minutes, he was surprised to find that he could suppress the Sentinel. What happened? After punching the Sentinel again, Suke asked in surprise. The host does not need to be surprised. The Sentinel has the energy of a million stars exploding in its body, and this energy is also a kind of mysterious power. In the process of fighting with the Sentinel, the host will continue to absorb the energy of a million stars exploding from the Sentinel, so the host will become stronger and stronger. As if sensing Suke's doubts, the system explained in Suke's mind. Hearing this, Suke laughed all of a sudden. Getting stronger the more he fights. This is simply too cool. But then, he suddenly had a rather evil idea in his mind. If I absorbed all the power of the Sentinel, what kind of existence would I become? As soon as this thought came to my mind, Suke could no longer hold back, and his eyes suddenly looked at the Sentinel with a hint of murderous intent. But just as he was about to act, a figure suddenly appeared beside the Sentinel. It was Loki. "Hello, Suke. I'm glad to see you having so much fun with the Sentinels, but I'm sorry, we have other things to do. Believe me, we'll see each other again soon." After saying this with a smile, Loki suddenly disappeared with the Sentinels. If it weren't for the Sentinels, Loki would never dare to speak to Suke like this, but with the Sentinels, a helper who could compete with Suke, Loki couldn't help but feel more confident. He even felt that even when facing Thanos, he no longer needed to be afraid. But of course, the premise is that he can definitely control the Sentinels, but the power in the Sentinels' bodies is too huge, and there is a danger of escaping his control at any time, so he can only think about this kind of thing. After Loki left with the Sentinels, only Suke was left here alone. Suke was somewhat surprised. He did not expect that the plot would return to the original timeline. The only difference was that Loki did not rely on Banner's power, but relied on the power of the Sentinel who was stronger than Banner. And it is obvious that Loki in this timeline is much stronger than the one in the movie. Loki in the movie, as a long-range attack magician, often has low IQ and often likes to play close combat with others. As a result, he is beaten and unable to take care of himself every time. But the Loki here is completely the opposite. He has been setting up sophisticated plans and conspiracies, and then step by step pulls everyone into his conspiracy. In terms of strength, many people in the Avengers can fight Loki alone, but in terms of strategy, no one in the Avengers can compare to Loki. Loki left with the Sentinels. It was meaningless for Sook to stay here any longer. The space channel opened and Sook instantly returned to the previous meeting room. But for some reason, the atmosphere here seemed a little wrong at this moment. What happened? Suke asked curiously after finding a place to sit down. Nick Fury showed a sad look on his face, and said slowly, "Coulson was killed by Loki." What? Suke was a little surprised when he heard this, but then he seemed to remember that Coulson seemed to have died in the original plot. Although he was resurrected later, that was a thing of the future. No, I still have to go check it out. Thinking this in his mind, Suke opened another space channel and appeared in the SHIELD medical room. Although he had only known Coulson for a short time, Suke still had a good impression of him. If he could save his life, Suke would do it. But then again, Suke was not sure if the system could revive a dead person. When Suke appeared in the infirmary, he found that Coulson was covered with a white cloth and the medical staff had given up on treating him. What happened? Is this guy really dead? Suke asked the medical staff beside him while lifting the white cloth. I'm sorry, we really tried our best. Coulson's wounds were fatal and we couldn't save him. A man who seemed to be the attending doctor said slowly, with a rather sad tone. In SHIELD, Coulson had always been a popular guy, and many people liked him. Now that he was dead, it was reasonable for them to be sad. Okay, all of you go out, I want to try to save Agent Coulson. Sook waved his hand, signaling everyone to leave. However, when they heard this, the medical staff present were a little stunned. This person is dead, can he still be saved? But then, they thought of another thing, that is, the man in front of them was not a human being at all, but an alien. No one dared to say a word, and everyone retreated. After everyone left, Sook tore off the white cloth on Coulson's body. Then, a wound appeared in front of him. Unlike the wounds in the movie, this one seemed to be caused by some kind of energy weapon. Coulson's chest was punched with a fist-sized hole. In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson was resurrected by Nick using the Tahiti plan and his memory was modified, but Sook had no idea about this plan, so he could only seek help from the system. System, do you have any way to save Coulson? Soo-K asked in his heart. The host can exchange the super self-healing serum from the system mall. As long as the self-healing serum is injected, Coulson can be resurrected, said the system. Soo-K was slightly stunned and said, wait, didn't you say before that the super self-healing serum can only heal people who are not dead? How can Coulson be resurrected with the super self-healing serum if he is already dead? According to the system detection, Coulson still has a trace of consciousness in his mind, and is not completely dead, so the super self-healing serum is still effective. However, please hurry up, there are only 10 seconds left before Coulson's real death. The countdown starts now, 10, 9, 8. At the end of the conversation, the system had already started counting down. Although this was a bit unbelievable, Soo-K still reacted in an instant. He opened the system mall and found the super self-healing serum. He didn't even look at the price and immediately decided to buy it. The moment he got the serum, he injected it into Coulson's chest. 3, 2, 1. As the system countdown finished, the serum was completely injected into Coulson's body. Then, the serum began to work and quickly repaired Coulson's wounds. Finally caught up. Seeing this, Soo-K knew that Coulson would definitely survive. Then, he suddenly thought of something, and then checked his system points. This really made him feel a little painful. He actually lost 200,000 system points at once. In other words, the price of the super self-healing serum was actually 200,000. Black-hearted system. Soo-K couldn't help but complain in his heart. At this time, Coulson finally slowly opened his eyes. What the hell is going on? Am I dead? Coulson sat up and said in surprise while touching his intact chest. Death, if you still want to die now, I can help you do it. Soo-K said with a painful look on his face. Mr. Sook, wait a minute, did you save me just now? Seeing Soo-K, Coulson suddenly realized something. Okay, stop talking nonsense and follow me. Soo-K didn't say much, he directly opened another space channel and walked in first, and at the other end was the previous meeting room. At the same time, in the meeting room, Nick Fury had completed the mobilization work. Because of Coulson's death, the entire Avengers finally abandoned all previous prejudices and truly united together. Thor and Tony have also returned here, but looking at their embarrassed faces, you know that it must have taken a lot of effort. After hearing that Loki killed Coulson, Tony's face was full of deep self-blame, because Coulson was his friend. Tony was also a little sad in his heart, and he began to regret not being nicer to Coulson. Just when everyone looked sad, Sook suddenly appeared with Coulson. What the hell? What's going on? Everyone was completely stunned, because except for Thor and Tony, everyone else had seen Coulson just now. At that time, Coulson had already completely stopped breathing and was dead. But now, he actually appeared alive in front of everyone. It's incredible. Seeing everyone looking at him with wide eyes, Coulson scratched his head a little embarrassedly, and then said, Mr. Sook saved me. Thor was the first to react, and he gave Coulson a big hug, and then shouted excitedly, my friend, I'm glad to see you are still alive. Tony punched Coulson directly on the chest, and then laughed, I knew that you would not die so easily. Then, others also greeted Coulson. Nick Fury was a little excited, but he finally held back, and just smiled at Coulson with relief. For a moment, the atmosphere here suddenly became cheerful again. Cough cough. After coughing twice, Nick Fury said, everything that happened before was caused by our carelessness and distrust, but from now on, I hope everyone can truly unite. The world needs you to save it, and the world needs the Avengers." When he said this, Nick Fury's eyes were filled with determination. Similarly, everyone else's eyes were filled with determination. Soo-K knew in his heart that only now had the Avengers been truly established. Next, just as everyone was about to discuss how to defeat Loki, the door of the conference room was pushed open again, and then Black Widow walked in with Hawkeye, who looked exhausted. Black Widow and Hawkeye were sad when they heard that Coulson was killed by Loki, but what they didn't expect was that Coulson was still alive. "Coulson, you're still alive. That's great, my friend." Hawkeye walked up and gave Coulson a big hug. Black Widow nodded at Coulson. She and Coulson were old acquaintances, so there was no need to be so polite. Then, they finally got to the point. Loki wants to use the Space Stone to open a channel to connect to the alien army. Where do you think he will choose? Putting a map of New York City on the table, Nick Fury looked at everyone and asked. "My brother Loki is an arrogant and conceited guy, very vain. If he really wants to do something, he will definitely let everyone notice it, and he will choose the most conspicuous place." Thor said slowly. "The most conspicuous place." Tony's eyelids suddenly jumped when he heard this. It seems that the most conspicuous place in the entire New York City is his Stark building. Reluctantly pointing out the location of Stark Tower on the map, Tony then spoke. "Okay, now we are sure that Loki will open the cosmic channel here, but there is still one most important question: what should we do with the guy in yellow clothes? To be honest, that guy is too powerful. He defeated Thor and me in just one encounter. Tony is right. Compared to Loki and the Chitauri, that guy is the real threat. He is very powerful," Thor also said with a serious face. Nick Fury heard this and looked at Sook again. "Mr. Soo-K, you have fought with this guy before, and you once told us that his name is Sentinel. You must know something about him, right? Please explain it to everyone." Soo-K realized that everyone's eyes were looking at him, and then he slowly said, "This guy is called Sentinel, an American, his real name is Robert Reynolds, and he was originally a drug addict. In order to get drugs, he broke into a professor's laboratory and accidentally drank the secret formula invented by the professor, which gave him powerful abilities. That was energy from another universe, containing the power of millions of star explosions. Although this energy was powerful, it also created a negative personality in Robert, namely nothingness. Nothingness was a monster personality that only knew how to kill. But it seems that this guy must have put himself into a deep sleep before, until Loki found and controlled him. If you think that the current Sentinel is already very powerful, then I can tell you that you are totally wrong. The Sentinel's other personality, nothingness, is the most powerful. As long as he wants, he can destroy any planet in minutes. Of course, this includes the Earth. Because no one present knew the Sentinel, Soo-K could only tell everything he knew." After hearing these words, Nick Fury's face turned pale. At this moment, his heart really seemed to be galloping through 10,000 horses. When did such a powerful existence appear on Earth, and it was an American, and he didn't even hear any movement? This director of S.H.I.E.L.D. is really a pain in the ass. Noticing that everyone's faces were a little ugly, Soo-K chuckled again and said, "Okay, leave the Sentinel to me. He was originally awakened by Loki to deal with me. This is a challenge, and I will accept this challenge. Then we will have to deal with Loki and the Chitauri army. As the Prince of Asgard, Sook, I promise you that I will not let Loki succeed." Thor said solemnly, "Don't worry, we will definitely win. We are the Avengers. There is nothing we can't do," Tony said with a smile. At the same time, on the top floor of the stock building, Loki was looking nervously at a group of people in front of him fiddling with a special device. The Space Stone was a powerful thing, so powerful that even Loki couldn't use it directly, and could only rely on human technology and tools. P.S. Loki was holding the Cosmic Cube at this time. The Space Stone was only after the Cosmic Cube was opened, but the author often mixes it up, so please don't mind, it's all the same anyway. But of course, what really made him nervous was not the Space Stone, but the Sentinel standing next to him at this moment. Loki felt more and more that the Sentinel had gradually slipped out of his control, and it seemed that another extremely dark personality was awakening in this guy's body, which made Loki feel a little scared. Although he knew very early that he could not completely control the Sentinel, he still didn't expect the Sentinel to break free from his control so quickly. If this guy goes berserk, it will be very scary. Just as Loki was thinking about it, a blue beam of light suddenly shot up from his side. When it reached a certain point in the sky, it suddenly exploded. Then, a space channel similar to a black hole began to appear, and it became larger and larger, and soon expanded into a circular channel with a diameter of several kilometers. At the other end of the channel, the impatient Chidori began to rush down. It started. At this moment, Loki suddenly laughed again. On the other side, after receiving the alarm, Sook instantly opened a space channel and brought everyone to the downstairs of Stark Tower. The moment Sook appeared, the Sentinel next to Loki suddenly locked onto Sook. This was the first spell Loki had cast on the Sentinel. Go. Loki grinned and said, although I can't control you anymore, I can at least make you stronger. Kill Sook, this is your last mission. After saying this, Loki tapped the sentry's chest with the scepter in his hand. Then, the sentry's eyes suddenly turned dark, and his whole aura became a little different. It was obvious that he had become nothingness. The strongest state of the Sentinel. As the space channel appeared over New York City, the entire city suddenly became chaotic, and countless small black dots poured out from the space channel and began to wreak havoc in New York City. But no one dared to move at this time, because at this moment, the Sentinel was guarding beside Loki, and the strong pressure made even Thor dare not approach. This guy, it seems to be different. Looking up at the sentry, Tony said with some doubt. That's right, this guy's dark side has awakened, and now he has become nothingness, the strongest state of the Sentinel. Suke said slowly, with a gleam in his eyes. Whether it's a Sentinel or nothingness, it will become a part of his power anyway. As soon as Suke finished speaking, the Sentinel on the roof suddenly swooped down. Leave the sentry to me, and I'll leave this place to you. Seeing this, Suke immediately gave an order, then flew up and crashed into the sentry. Boom. Then, another shock wave spread out. Thor, I'll leave those aliens in the air to you. The others go stop the aliens that have come to the ground. I'll try to shut down the machine. Tony said to the others as he slowly flew up. This time, no one refuted him. Thor flew up first, and then summoned lightning to directly attack the Chidori who had just come out of the space channel. The rest of Rogers, Black Widow, Daisy and others also started fighting. In a moment, Tony had flown to the top of the Stark building, and at this moment, a strange machine was running. Drive Eric, please stop this machine. Do you know what you are doing? Looking around, Tony saw that among the people operating the machine, there was someone he knew, so he warned. Feel sorry, Eric said in a daze. I can't stop him. Once this machine starts, it can't be stopped. All right. Seeing this, Tony didn't waste any words and fired directly at the device. Unfortunately, the powerful shells didn't even destroy the protective force field outside the machine, and even triggered the self-protection device of the force field. In an instant, a powerful shock wave spread out again, blowing Tony away. Sir, it is made of pure energy and cannot be broken. Jarvis warned. I already know, Tony said with a smile, and began to look at Loki, and at this moment, Loki was also looking at him. The armor on Tony's body had been damaged a lot by the Sentinel before, and half of its energy was consumed. It was impossible to save New York City with this armor, and he needed a new armor. Jarvis, I need that. But sir, Mark 7 is not yet fully compatible with the new element. I still need to test it. No, I will test it myself, get ready. Tony said with a smile, then landed on the top floor platform and began to remove the armor on his body. Loki smiled and walked into the room. The Avengers were busy in New York City, and Sook was not idle either. Sook was even under much more pressure than them. The completely blackened Sentinel was several times stronger than before. At the beginning, he even had a tendency to suppress Sook, but it didn't take long for Sook to be on par with the Sentinel, because in this fight, he had been absorbing the energy of the Sentinel. Every collision between the two would destroy all lives and buildings within a few kilometers. Although Sook didn't care about the lives of New Yorkers, he didn't want to see these people die in vain. Besides, Emma was also in New York City at the moment, and he had to consider Emma's safety. Thinking of this, Sook rushed towards the Sentinel again. At the same time, he opened a space channel behind the Sentinel. The other end of the space channel was in space. The Earth couldn't withstand the battle between Sook and the Sentinel, so Sook could only pull the battlefield into space. He kicked the Sentinel into the space channel, and Sook flew in immediately. Without the threat of the Sentinels, the other Avengers on Earth were relatively relaxed, but of course, this relaxation did not last long before it was destroyed by the overwhelming Chitauri army. The Chitauri army is divided into two types, one is the ground army and the other is the air army. Although Thor has done his best to attack the air army, the Chitauri army is too large and he is simply unable to stop it all. The Chitauri use energy-emitting weapons, and with each of their attacks, there will be an explosion. Boom! All the citizens of New York began to flee in all directions, and there were panicked voices and cries for help everywhere. The Chitauri began to wreak havoc in New York City. Although the Avengers tried their best to stop it, and even S.H.I.E.L.D. joined the battle, they were still unable to stop the huge alien army. Buzz, using shockwaves to knock away a large number of the Chitauri soldiers who were rushing towards her, Daisy looked at Rogers beside her nervously and said, "Captain, this is not a solution. We need more destructive helpers." "I know, but they are all fighting right now, there is no time." Rogers said this after knocking down a Chitauri with his shield. Although Black Widow did not speak, the expression on her face showed that she was also very nervous. Suddenly, a S.H.I.E.L.D. fighter plane landed, and then Coulson came down with Banner. "Coulson, why are you here? This is not your battlefield, go back." Rogers shouted in surprise. Coulson had died once before, and he didn't want him to die again. Coulson said helplessly, "Captain, it's not me who wants to come, but Dr. Banner. He said he thinks you need him." "Hello, hello everyone." Banner smiled and greeted everyone. In an instant, everyone present understood what Banner meant. But obviously, this made them even more scared, because everyone knew that there was a monster hidden in Banner's body. A monster called Hulk. "Banner, are you sure you have to do this?" Black Widow asked with a look of uneasiness on her face. "You know, Sook is fighting with the Sentinel in space at this moment. If Hulk goes berserk, no one will stop him." "Don't worry," Banner smiled and said, "because of Sook's help before, Hulk is no longer so resistant to me. I am no longer the same person as before. I can get angry at any time." Forehead. "Ladies and gentlemen, I think now is not the time to talk. There is a big bug flying over here." Suddenly, at this moment, Ant-Man's voice sounded, and then, Ant-Man turned back to the size of a normal person. Everyone looked back and saw a huge armored beast flying over, and in front of the armored beast there was a figure, it was Tony. "Banner, I heard what you said before. Since you are sure about this, then this guy is handed over to you. Now let's start the party." Tony's voice rang in everyone's ears through the radio. Black Widow was speechless. "I don't think this is something worth celebrating." At this moment, the armored beast had already crashed into them. "Hulk, remember, you are a hero, not a monster. We are not monsters." He closed his eyes and muttered silently in his heart. When he opened his eyes again, a green light began to appear in Banner's eyes. "Hulk." With a roar, Hulk appeared. The moment he appeared, Hulk punched the armored beast that pounced on him. With just one punch, he knocked it to the ground. "Ah!" With another roar, Hulk's appearance attracted the attention of all the Chitauri. With the appearance of Hulk, the situation on the battlefield began to reverse. At the same time, in space, Loki's control finally faded away, and Sentinel's consciousness began to slowly return. Suke landed on a broken planet, looking at the blackened Sentinel from afar, with only helplessness in his eyes. He had been fighting with the Sentinel all the way, absorbing a lot of the Sentinel's power, which made him stronger, but the Sentinel's body contained the explosive power of millions of stars, which was almost infinite, which meant that the Sentinel could fight him indefinitely. Of course, with Suke's current strength, he could fight with the Sentinel indefinitely until the Sentinel's power was completely consumed, but who knew how long it would take? A few years, decades, or hundreds of years. Suke was a little annoyed. He needed to end this battle as soon as possible. I finally showed up. Ha 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 ha. I finally appeared again." Then, the Sentinel suddenly laughed, but his laughter was so unpleasant that Sook was disgusted. Soon, the Sentinel found Sook. Because he was controlled by Loki before, the Sentinel had no memory of Sook and didn't know how he came to this place. "Who are you?" The sentry looked at Suke and asked coldly. "I am your grandpa." Suke was too lazy to talk nonsense with the sentry and rushed over directly. The sentry grabbed it casually, and the entire universe began to distort, and even Suke's body was the same. However, Suke was prepared for this, and he directly opened a space channel and flew in. At the same time, another space channel appeared behind the sentry. The next second, Suke flew out of the space channel behind the sentry and stepped on the sentry's back. Then, the sentry shot out like a cannonball and crashed into another planet. However, Suke was no longer surprised by this, because he and the Sentinels had destroyed countless planets along the way. The Sentinel used the power of millions of stars exploding, and Suk used the power of millions of stars absorbed from the Sentinel, plus the power of the Phoenix and his own Titan clan's divine power. Under such power, no planet can survive. Suke was somewhat relieved. It seemed that it was a good decision to bring the Sentinel to outer space. Otherwise, the Earth would have been destroyed long ago. As he was thinking, Suke felt something appeared behind him. Without any hesitation, Suke opened a space channel and jumped in. Then, he appeared thousands of meters away. And where he just stood, the Sentinel was standing there coldly, and behind him was a huge black hole. Pointing at Suke, the Sentinel said coldly, "I will kill you. Why waste words? Come on if you have the guts." Suke sneered. "Very good." With a sneer, the sentry suddenly raised his hand again, and then a huge black hole suddenly appeared above him. On the other side of the black hole, there was endless darkness. Next, the sentry actually threw the black hole towards Suke like a ball. Wherever the black hole passed, everything was swallowed up. "Humph, do you think you are the only one who can play this trick?" With a sneer in his heart, Suke suddenly raised his fist and punched the air hard. In an instant, the space in front of him suddenly shattered, and then a black hole began to appear, and then quickly expanded. Not long after, two black holes as big as planets collided with each other. Under the influence of mutual forces, the two black holes quickly merged together, and then a huge explosion occurred. Boom! With a loud noise, the black hole exploded, and endless darkness began to spread to the universe, instantly swallowing up hundreds of planets, and even swallowed up Suke and the Sentinel. Suke didn't expect this result, and he didn't even bother to use the power of the space gem. He just stretched out his hand to tear a hole in the black hole, and then jumped out. The moment he appeared, he saw the Sentinel also crawling out of an opened black hole. With a teleportation, Suke appeared next to the sentry and kicked him back into the black hole. "How dare you do this to me?" After being kicked into the black hole by Suke, the Sentinel immediately tore a passage from another place and crawled out. When he came out again, he wanted to eat Suke alive. However, Suke didn't care about the Sentinel's anger at all. Anyway, he was going to kill the Sentinel no matter what. Being played with by Suke one after another, the Sentinel's anger was a little out of control. In addition, he had never really controlled his own power. At this moment, he felt that the power of millions of stars in his body had begun to surge in his body. It was a power that was so powerful that it was indescribable, a power that could destroy everything in the universe. Do you think you are powerful because you are powerful? In front of my power, any power is insignificant. I will kill you, and then let everything in the universe be buried with you." The Sentinel said with a grim smile, and an incredibly powerful force began to surge around his body. Suke was shocked and thought, this guy is not going to release the power of millions of stars in his body, right? Then, the next move of the Sentinel confirmed Suke's thoughts. Boom! With a loud bang, with the Sentinel as the center, an energy that was enough to destroy the universe suddenly erupted, but just when the Sentinel thought he could destroy the entire universe and Suk, something strange happened. The energy that burst out could not spread outwards at all when it reached Suk, as if it was suppressed in this area. Then, in the surprised eyes of the Sentinel, all the energy began to flow into Suk's body. What is going on? Why is this happening? Why can this man absorb such powerful energy? At this moment, the Sentinel was almost dumbfounded. This is half of the power in his body. At the same time, on the other side, Suke is very uncomfortable now, really uncomfortable. Even the half of the power in the Sentinel's body made him feel unprecedented pressure. The huge energy filled his body and wandered around in his body unscrupulously, without any control. His indestructible skin was cracked by such power. Although it was very uncomfortable, there is no doubt that this is the best experience for himself. Suke did not seek help from the system, and endured such pressure and indescribable pain, because he knew that some you still have to rely on yourself. Not long after, the power in the body finally settled down completely, and the wounds on Suke's body also returned to normal in a moment. Moreover, it seemed that because he absorbed half of the Sentinel's power, his skin became more indestructible. When he looked at the Sentinel again, Suke had only one thought in his mind. I want to blow up the Sentinel. Obtaining half of the power in the Sentinel's body made Suke feel an unprecedented feeling, a feeling of greater desire for power. He wants to blow up the Sentinel. He wants to get all of the Sentinel's power. At this moment, the Sentinel had long lost his previous arrogance, and his face was full of shock. But now, it's too late to say anything. Before, when Suke hadn't obtained half of his power, he could fight him to a draw. Now that Suke has obtained half of his power, how can he be Suke's opponent? Taking a deep breath, Suke looked down at the sentry not far away like a god and said, "Very good, I'm going to blow you up now." Boom! With one punch, the whole universe seemed to shake, and the surrounding space was shattered at this moment. There was no time to react. In the surprised and panicked eyes of the sentry, his body began to break, and all the remaining strength began to explode again. Boom! Then, all the strength was absorbed into Suke's body again. On Earth, the Battle of New York is still going on, but in S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury receives a call from his superiors. After our research and decision, we have decided that New York City cannot be saved. In order to prevent further alien invasion, we have decided to use nuclear bombs to destroy New York City. A very stiff voice slowly said on the other end of the phone. What? When Nick Fury heard this, he instantly broke out in a cold sweat and hurriedly said, "We can't do this. There are still millions of citizens in New York City, and the Avengers are still fighting. We will win. We can't use nuclear bombs. I refuse. Chief, this is an order, you can't refuse." Clatter. At this point, the other party hung up the phone. At the same time, in a dark room, several people were discussing something. "He won't listen to you. Nick Fury is a stubborn man, he won't do such a thing." "I know, but you have to understand that the Avengers will be a stumbling block on our way forward, and they must be eliminated. Any power that cannot be used by us must be eliminated. It's time to let the people in S.H.I.E.L.D. do their work." Several people smiled at each other. Long live Hydra. On the other side, Nick Fury's face turned pale, as did everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D. It was simply unreasonable for them to destroy New York City, which had a population of millions. Moreover, the Avengers were still fighting, so were they going to be killed together? "Director, shut up, Coulson. I know what to do." Coulson was about to say something, but Nick Fury suddenly stretched out his hand to interrupt him, then looked at the people in front of him and said, "All of you listen to me, from now on, no plane is allowed to move without my order." As soon as he finished speaking, a female agent in the command room stood up in surprise, and then hurriedly said, "Director, a plane took off without approval, and the plane was carrying a nuclear bomb." Cursing inwardly, Nick Fury immediately ran outside, grabbed a rocket launcher from a soldier at the door, and quickly aimed and fired. Boom! The plane that had just taken off was blown to pieces. But at this moment, another plane took off next to it, and at this time, Nick Fury could no longer stop it. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.